Hello and welcome to episode 59 of the ABC podcast. My name is Alex and I am joined by Brandon Park Kent.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Thank you. You're too kind.
You're welcome.
So here we are. It's another blistering hot June Sunday here in the Devil's Butt Crack. We just cannot seem to escape. And yeah.
You know, I actually haven't been outside that much this week.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But still, every time I do go outside, because like I said last week, like just the car just like compounds everything. Because you know, like you get in the car.
Oh, is your AC not working still?
Yeah, no, when we moved to New York, we're only taking Robin's car, so I'm just gonna sell mine before. Okay. And what the compressor's broken, and my dad had it taken to a shop to get looked at, and they said it was gonna cost like $1,400 to replace. So it just didn't make any financial sense to replace it. So I'm just dealing with it. I mean, like, I'm not gonna die before then, hopefully. It's my cross to bear, as they say. But yeah, anyway, what's been going on with you?
With me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I want to say just work, but it's been a lot of work this week. Like earlier this week, I had to move furniture from rooms for my job on campus, and oh my gosh, this stuff is so heavy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous. The whole time I was pushing the furniture, I'm like, if I was still on the Wonder Woman hype, so I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it. And after 30 seconds, I'm like, nope, I can't do it. Like, I can admit that I'm a wimp. No, it was just really heavy.
Hey, at least you're gonna get buff.
It was actually a really good workout, I'm not gonna lie. And then
after, you could be like Rick and Summer in that
that one episode when they took steroids. Yeah. And then after moving all that furniture, I was told, yeah, you actually weren't supposed to move the furniture.
What?
Like the entire first floor of this building that we're in, we did at least half of those, moving the furniture. Apparently, we were just supposed to move the beds. There was some miscommunication between everybody. So when we were moving the dressers and the desks, everybody was busy with something else. So I said, okay, I'll do the dressers, which were the heaviest ones.
You did them by yourself?
Yeah, I did 4 of them by myself. We moved 9. 4 of them, I moved them by myself.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wait, did you have like a cart, or you were like literally just
I was literally like...
Oh, pushing. Okay.
Yeah.
No, like Kratos?
Yeah, kind of. Man, I should have thought about that. Maybe that would have like helped encourage me. Because some of them wanted to take the drawers out and put them in a cart and then put the dresser in another cart. But I thought, it's just too much work. I'll just push it.
Well, yeah, because those drawers are really hard to get out, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm surprised I even survived that. Oh my gosh, it was such a long day. And then nothing much, just working at the restaurant. I basically live at the restaurant at this point.
So you're not taking classes?
No, I can't afford that.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
That's true. I only ever took one summer class, but I really enjoyed it because it's very compressed. It's like 4 hours a day, like 4 times or whatever it was. It was all very condensed. Within
what class was it?
It was American history. I think it was the first one. I wish. No, because you take up to like the beginning of the country up to whatever year, and then whatever year up to the present. I think it was the first. I did them out of order. I think I did the second one, and then the first.
Because I've never taken history here. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I came in with AP credits.
Oh okay. Oh man, I should have studied harder for that test.
Yeah, which is weird because even with the AP credits, I still have to take another year of college.
Yeah. Well, I think another problem for me for that class in particular was we had our teacher was on maternity leave like the first couple months when the school year started. So we had this long-term sub who was, he was a nice guy and everything, but like, he basically just made us read our textbook in class, so I didn't really learn all that much.
Who was your teacher?
Miss Barrow.
Oh, I had her too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I taught myself.
Yeah.
I literally, people would come up to me and be like, hey, can you help me out with this? So there were times where I had like groups after school and I would just be teaching them U.S. history.
But anyway, so I took that class and I found it I thought it was a very efficient way to do classes. I could have taken more, but it just never really made sense for me.
I wish I could take a summer class. It just, again, money. A slave to the bill.
I know, right? That's all what it always comes down to. All right, anyway, this is going to make me depressed, so let's move on here.
Isn't that like the pattern of like all the beginnings of the podcast?
Yeah, it kind of is.
We start off nice, and then we kind of reflect on our life.
Well, yeah, because like it's always about...
And think about what are we doing with our lives?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We're doing nothing with our lives.
I know.
No, I'm kidding.
Anyway, I haven't been to my apartment office to check for packages. I'm pretty sure my Star Wars box should be here, but I haven't looked. So we don't have anything to unbox, but that means it's time for our ABCs of Geekdom segment. So Brandon, take it away.
So this week is the letter S. And funny enough, we're going to go back to Middle Earth again.
Oh boy.
Come on, don't say it like that.
So I'm guessing, because I remember last time you did Sauron.
Yes.
And I said I thought it was either going to be him or Sauron. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Sauron? Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing it's Sauron.
No.
Or is it Smaug?
It's Smaug.
Smaug.
Smaug the Stupendous. Smaug the Chiefest and Greatest of Calamities. Smaug the Terrible. He has a lot of nicknames, just in case.
The Unburnt.
Sorry, I'm just trying to look up his... He has a lot of nicknames. I'm trying to make sure I get them all. What else? The Tyrannical, the Mighty, the Magnificent, Tremendous, Unaccessibly Wealthy. I forget which year it was, but I want to say it was the Forbes list that he made it on the Forbes list as one of the wealthiest characters of all time.
Oh, okay.
Which, I mean, it's true. If you've seen his treasure, he has an entire mountain worth of treasure. So.
Yeah.
What would you do with all that money?
Man, I don't know.
He literally, not to downplay the greatness of Smaug, but he literally Scrooge McDucks his treasure.
Yeah.
Like, you've seen the movies, right?
Mm-mm.
You haven't?
No.
So there are parts where they're running around the mountain with his treasure, and he's literally like going through everything. And as cool as it was, part of me was like, he's literally Scrooge McDuck, because like he kind of dives into his treasure at one point. So Smaug, he is a fire drake of the Third Age. He was, I believe, the last dragon of the time and of his kind. And he is, oh my gosh. If any of you listened before, you know absolutely how much I adore this dragon. Just because, for starters...
Oh, you mean Wyvern, right?
Oh, the Wyvern? Come on, I thought we agreed that we can coexist together.
I was just trying to...
Can you imagine? Do you remember that? Oh my gosh, that was quite a discussion. I went back the other day to listen, and that thing took up a good... I want to say about 25 minutes of just trying us to understand everything.
Yeah.
And even still, what I got from that entire conclusion of that conversation was we didn't conclude anything. Damn it. It took me off track. Anyways, so Smaug...
Actually, can I interrupt you for just a
second? I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Go. No, I'm just kidding.
You said Fire Drake, and that triggered a memory for me of... I don't know if... I remember in 7th grade for English, we had to read Beowulf. Obviously not like the whole ye olde Beowulf. It was like a very like middle schooler friendly.
That was a good term to use, ye olde. I might use that actually.
It was a very middle school friendly reading level. But,
yeah, I believe I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, so we did that, and it was not, the main bad guy is Grendel, but like then there's like this weird like post like epilogue type of shorter story like stuck on at the end where Beowulf fights a fire drake. And I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
I mean, like, obviously in Beowulf world it is, but I didn't know there were other fire drakes.
I think I want to say it's been used in other literature before, but don't quote me on that.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I guess I just never heard it before. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up.
I remember, oh my gosh, that's another tangent. For that class, we had to, I don't know what we had to do. What was the whole premise of it? But we had to draw out the characters.
Oh yeah, we did that too.
Yeah, and I remember I did mine, and oh my gosh. I don't want to sound conceited, but everybody absolutely loved mine because, oh my gosh, the amount of time I spent on that stuff. And so when I finally showed everybody was like, what? And I was like up there. And the teacher was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And when I was walking around the school with it, everybody's like, oh my gosh, let me see your thing. And I don't know, I felt like a celebrity, even though it really wasn't that big of a deal.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it.
I would like to see that sometime.
They're not very good. I'll show it to you.
Well, whatever it is, I'm sure it's better than mine because I remember doing that project and I literally traced out a picture of Charizard with very, very minor changes because I have zero artistic ability. Like I cannot understate how bad I am at drawing in any sort of creative medium on paper. So like I had no options really. Like I had to trace something, and I remember looking for some pictures, but like in my mind, and probably just because I was such a big Pokemon fan, when I pictured the Fire Drake in the book, I pictured something looking like Charizard. Right. So I just traced Charizard. My teacher, obviously, she was pretty young. She was like probably in like her mid-20s. So about how old I am now. I had Miss Greeno. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, she was mid to late 20s. So she obviously had no idea what Charizard was, so she didn't know that I was, blatantly plagiarizing the Pokemon Company.
Is it really plagiarizing if... Well, actually, you are...
No, there's weird rules about it for, like, in educational purposes, as long as you don't use it to, like, sell anything, then it's legit, but still,
I know what you mean,
yeah. Anyway, I remember that, and I showed my friends, we were all comparing our pictures too. And I showed them, and they're like, you just traced Charizard, didn't you? And I was like, no, man, this was all me. They're like, you're such a liar. That's just a picture of Charizard. And I was like, yeah, it is.
Where were we going with Smaug?
You hadn't even started.
Oh, yeah. So, good times. Yeah. I remember that assignment. One of my favorite projects. Keep going. This is fun. We did anything I've learned from the last podcast. I enjoy these conversations.
So we did a mythology unit in 7th grade.
Oh, we did too.
And, I didn't ask you, who was your teacher?
Her name was Miss Frizzell.
Okay. That rings a bell, but maybe that's because of Catherine, I don't know.
She was really young too.
Okay. Anyway, so we did a mythology unit, and like I've always been really fascinated by Greek mythology. Like, Roman mythology is okay, and I didn't really know anything about Norse mythology until like the Thor movies came out. And so mostly just Greek mythology. So I knew a lot going into it, but I got like really into doing that that year. And then at the end of the unit, we had a test, and I think it was extra credit, but it might have been required anyway. But we were given this assignment to come up with your own myth. And I remember my myth. This is so dumb. I have no idea how I came up with it, but my myth was the the origin of the Crips and the Bloods, that like tied back to Greek mythology about like these brothers who were like twins, and then they got into like this feud, and it's like continued on to the modern day. Thinking back, I have no idea what inspired me to come up with that topic, but my teacher really loved it. She gave me full points on it, and I got a 100% on the test. So plus that credit, I got a perfect score on the test.
You could probably sell the story and somebody would make a movie of it.
I don't think I have it anymore because it would have been saved on my family's home computer, but we got a new one. I lost a lot of assignments that I was pretty proud of.
I still think if you pitch that to somebody or to an executive at a studio, I still think they would go for it.
Yeah, but then
look at the movies that get made nowadays, man.
Yeah, I don't know, but then I feel
you could go down in history as having one of the worst movies ever made. You'll be infamous, not famous, but you'll still be infamous. You might ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's like the Crips and the Bloods would probably come after me. Like I would unify them.
But they would probably be like, "How does he know our secret history?" It's like, nobody should know that except us.
Anyway,
this has kind of got me thinking. Should I even do the ABC of Geekdom this week?
Yes. Yeah. No, we have to.
Okay. So, oh my gosh, we'll try third time's the charm. Yeah. This is the third time, right?
Something like that.
Okay. Third and a half. So Smaug is a fire drake of the Third Age. Like I said, he was considered to be the last great dragon to exist in Middle Earth during his time. And he is. I think he counts as the main antagonist of The Hobbit for the book. There are plenty of other antagonists throughout the novel, but I would say he counts as the main one, since the whole point of the quest is to go back to the mountain and reclaim the dwarves' treasure from him. So he, in case you guys don't know, he went to the Lonely Mountain, to the kingdom of Erebor, which was a dwarf kingdom, and there's really no complicated way to say it. He took the treasure. He invaded the mountain. He killed a bunch of dwarves. He kicked them out. He evicted them. Said, "This is mine now." And he claimed the treasure. And yeah. So, like I said, the whole point of this story is for the company to go back to the mountain and take back their treasure.
Well, I mean, like, Gandalf recruits Bilbo.
Yeah.
They call him the thief, right? So, like, aren't they stealing the treasure?
Kind of, but are you really stealing it if it was stolen from you in the first place? I guess you could steal it back, but I mean, technically it is their right. Also, it is their home.
I'm pretty sure it's still theft.
Okay, so let's say I kick you out of your house, and it's like, oh, this is my house, and you come to do it. Would you have the mindset like, oh, I'm stealing this back from you?
No, I wouldn't, but from a legal perspective, I believe that it would be.
So you're going to take the legal perspective of fighting a dragon.
Just getting ready for my future, Brandon. You never know what kind of legal precedent
I don't think
you
have to take the case of a dragon. You want to be an avocado at law way too fast. But I do like that you have the mindset already. Shows the making of a true lawyer. Pretty soon you're going to be on CNN. Having like the most disinterested face the whole time. You know, whenever when it's live, quote unquote live, and they're talking to people and they have them on as guest speakers, probably just gonna have like your DS just playing in the middle of like live television. Anyways, back to Smaug. So I guess basic summary of plot of what happens. Spoiler, which basically happens in the movie and the story. So the company finally makes it to the Lonely Mountain. They send Bilbo in first to scout about. He's going through the treasure. He finds the main treasure room. He picks up a cup. He kind of goes out with it. Smaug realizes that a piece of his treasure is taken. Also, in case you didn't know, he actually memorized each piece of treasure.
It's pretty impressive.
He's been with that thing for years. I feel like if you have that much treasure, it's probably the best way to use it, I guess, besides spending it. I mean, he's a dragon. He's not going to buy home insurance.
Well, I mean, like, to go back to the Scrooge McDuck comparison, like, he can tell by diving into his money bin, like, exactly how much money is in there. And he'll know if a single cent is gone, which is...
I want that ability.
I know, right? That would be so cool. Like, you would go to, like, every state fair and win those, like, guess how many jelly beans are in the jar competitions. So, when Bilbo goes back into the mountain... Smaug realizes that he's not alone, and he starts talking to Bilbo. And they speak in riddles and everything. And Smaug realizes, or he comes to the conclusion that somebody from the town nearby came and stole a piece of his treasure. So because of that, what else is he got to do? Except, I was gonna say a really bad word, but I'm not gonna say it. He essentially goes to Lake Town to teach them a lesson. He burninates the countryside.
Close to it.
He burninates the peasants.
Sure.
Oh, you don't get my reference?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want to tell me?
Oh, sure. So there was this old web series cartoon, I guess you could call it, called Homestar Runner. And the main character was named Strong Bad, who was this weird dude. He wore a wrestling mask, and he was just really strange. And he would answer fan emails. And somebody asked, I don't even know what happened. Anyway, so he comes up with a song about Trogdor. So Trogdor was a man, and then he was a dragon man, and then he was just a dragon. And he would just go on this path of rampage and destruction, and he would quote unquote burninate the countryside and burninate the people. And yeah, Homestar Runner was really weird, but like it was the thing when I was like in 4th or 5th grade.
So he basically does that to the town. And the whole time the town's trying to fight back. They're shooting arrows at him, but nothing's working. And then one guy, his name is Baird, he sees the dragon and he sees, actually I take it back. He gets told by a little bird, literally like a little bird tells him, like, hey, there is a part in his underbelly where you can shoot and you can pierce him. So he does that. He shoots Smaug. He kills him. Smaug dies.
So it's like his Achilles heel?
Pretty much.
And is this guy like a renowned archer, or did he just get lucky?
No, he's a pretty good archer.
Okay.
Yeah, for the town he is.
Uh-huh.
So this is one of the kind of few examples where I kind of appreciate what Peter Jackson did in the movies as opposed to the book, which I know is not a very popular thought.
Right.
But I honestly think it kind of made sense because in the novel, I mean, granted, it was a different style of writing back in the day and everything, but you don't really get to know too much about Barrett except that he shot Smaug and he helped lead the rest of the men into the Battle of Five Armies. So in the movie, just to kind of compare the differences, in the book, Smaug's his underbelly is soft, as with all dragons, but after spending so much time lying on his treasure, a bunch of treasure kind of just like forms on him, so it creates an armor underneath him. So his scales are naturally hard, and he can't be penetrated. But his underside is covered and crusted by jewels, except for one part, which they kind of notice. In the movie, Smaug's entire body is pretty much plated with his scales, so you can't break it. Except when the first time he attacked the mountain, there used to be a city next to Erebor, which was occupied by humans. And then when Smaug first attacked Erebor, he attacked that city first, and then he attacked the mountain. And when they were fighting him, instead of just arrows, they had like these ballistas or really big, I guess, crossbows that they were shooting at him, like turrets. And one of them actually managed to dislodge one of his scales off, which I personally thought was a better. It made more sense to me, and I liked that better instead of just having like encrusted jewels on his
I don't know. I think they both make sense.
Yeah. I mean,
like I would probably say that the second one, the movie version, makes more sense, but I think the first one is fine.
Yeah, I think it would look weird. But they do pay homage to that in the movie because whenever they're hiding underneath Smaug and he goes above him, like he's so big, it starts raining coins and gems on them, and I was like, that's so cool because they still kept that.
That sounds painful though.
None of them hit them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, one last tangent. So this reminds me of a scene of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns was really jealous of this one rich guy. He was really generous with his money. He threw like money to the people. So he thought, I want to be like that. There's a whole like much more into the story. I won't get into that. So he and Homer go on top of a building, and they start throwing coins off the edge of the building and starts hitting people. And one of the coins gets lodged in Lenny's forehead. And when he tries to take it out, like the blood starts spurting like a fountain out, so he has to keep the coin in there for the rest of the episode. So back to what I was saying, the comparison between the two. So where Barry comes into this is that in the movie, in the original defense of the city of Dale, the captain of the guard, he was an ancestor of Baird's, and so because he failed in defending the city, Baird is kind of always reminded of that shame in Lake Town. So it was kind of like poetic justice when he was the one that delivered the killing blow to to Smaug. So say what you will, personally, I actually like the revisions that they did in the movie just because I thought it gave a little bit more, I guess, flesh to the story.
Yeah.
But this is about Smaug. This isn't about Baird. So Smaug, as many of you know, he's my favorite dragon of all time. Partly because dragons are my favorite mythological creature. And also partly because the way they portrayed him in the Peter Jackson Hobbit movies. So, I don't know if you know this, there was actually an animated film of The Hobbit before that. And it was, it's fine.
I've never seen it.
It's not the greatest thing by any means. Right. It's very faithful to the book.
It came out like 70s?
In the 70s.
Yeah.
In the 70s. And it's... Make of it what you will. So, I actually really enjoy the Hobbit movies that Peter Jackson made. There's some things that, I had some gripes about, and they're nowhere near as fantastic as The Lord of the Rings, but I still really, really enjoy them a lot. And like I said, the whole thing with Smaug was just the highlight of the trilogy because one, he's voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch, and where do you go wrong with that? Not only was he voiced, he essentially was played by Benedict Cumberbatch because he did the motion capture, which you can find very easily on the internet. And it's so funny seeing Benedict Cumberbatch in the gray suit, and he's literally just crawling and slithering on the floor. But you have to hand it to the man; that is dedication.
Yeah. And
whenever you see him on the screen, you can't help but just think, my God, that is one fantastic dragon. Because the way that they portrayed Smaug, first off, I think it sounds weird, but it was believable. Like the way that the actors interacted and spoke to the dragon, it was like they were speaking with something that was there. And I remember seeing interviews where it said it was kind of hard because you're speaking to this gigantic thing that's not there, and you have to kind of go back to the old elements of play that you were as a kid.
Yeah.
But the way that they did it was very, very good. And just Smaug in general, he's amazing. Like I said, he has impenetrable scales. He can breathe fire. He has an amazing voice. Like the way that they made his voice in the movie was so, so cool. And he has so many great lines throughout the movie too. That the way that he was written, like I could tell that production team knew, like, okay, not to downplay the rest of the movie, but they knew that they had to play the Dragon Park ride because that was the whole point of the story, to get to the mountain to fight the dragon. And what I also really enjoyed about what they did with him too is that he's exceptionally smart, and you can kind of tell that in the book whenever he's talking to Bilbo, and he kind of figures out that, okay, this isn't just a regular thief, like he has connections to something.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like in classical mythology, dragons are like one step below gods in terms of, like, you know, power and reverence and everything. So I mean, it makes sense for them to be, you know, almost all-knowing and almost all-powerful.
Which I really appreciate, because he's not just a hulking beast.
Right. He's not like, I mean, you know, Drogon is really cool and everything, but like at the end of the day, like he's, you know, an animal. He's driven by his instinct and to a certain extent to Daenerys' order. Right. But Smaug, like, is his own master and everything, which I think is a really cool thing.
Like the whole time in the movie when he's speaking with Bilbo, he knows the presence of the ring that's there. And he's actually able to tell, like, there's something different. Yeah. It's not just
that's
gold.
Cool.
Yeah, which they changed it in the book. Because in the book, Bilbo stays invisible with the ring. He doesn't know that. But in the movie, they changed it so Smaug is aware of the connection of that. And there's some underlying... It's pretty much hinted that if Smaug was allowed to, he would have joined up with Sauron and aided in the whole war.
So, I don't know if you know the answer to this. Was The Hobbit written before the Lord of the Rings trilogy or after?
Let me look it up. I want to say it was written before.
Okay.
Let me just look it up real quick.
I don't know. My gut tells me that it's after, just because. So I forgot to say this. I actually have read The Hobbit.
Yeah, it's actually, I think we talked about this.
I've never read the other Lord of the Rings. I've listened to The Fellowship of the Ring on audiobook a couple times, but and I know this is gonna make some people mad, Kenzie, but the Fellowship just never gripped me enough to be interested in reading or listening to the other two books in the trilogy. But The Hobbit, I did read when I was in 5th grade, and I remember enjoying it a lot. But just from the few details that I do remember in the decade that it's been since then, I just remember a lot of connections, like very specific connections to the main trilogy, which leads me to believe that he built the mythology of the Lord of the Rings first, and then went back to The Hobbit to like make a prequel.
So it says here that it was actually written after The Hobbit.
Okay.
So he wrote The Hobbit in 1937.
Okay.
So the Fellowship of the Ring began... Well, actually, the Lord of the Rings began as a sequel to the work. But then he just kept expanding the world so much that he actually created the trilogy after.
Oh, okay. Well, I was wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, world building it's a hell of a task.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I know people are like, oh, world building, it's so easy. No, it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And props to J.R.R. Tolkien for that.
Yeah, just to go on another tangent. So I listened to this Harry Potter podcast called Tales from Godric's Hollow. I super enjoy it, and I've talked about it before, so I won't sell it anymore. But anyway, we just wrapped up reading the 4th book. And this is going to be Harry Potter spoilers, I guess, but the only person I care about spoiling it for is Josh. So Josh, if you're listening, stop now, but I really doubt that. Anyway, with that out of the way. So at the end of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Cedric Diggory is murdered by Lord Voldemort. Harry escapes. He goes back to Dumbledore's office. He tells Dumbledore that Voldemort used his blood in the ceremony. It's not really a spell. It's like an incantation, resurrection thing. Anyway, he uses Harry's blood to bring him back to life, essentially. And when he tells Dumbledore this, J.K. has this line about seeing this flash of victory in Dumbledore's eyes, but it's very fleeting, and Harry thinks he imagines it. But it turns out that it actually was true, because in the 7th book, when Voldemort kills Harry, that connection that they have because of Harry's blood coursing in Voldemort's veins is what tethers Harry to life, essentially. Like, he becomes one of Voldemort's Horcruxes, more or less, put it very simplistically. So I just love that, like, tiny little line that she has in there that shows how far ahead she was thinking about the whole series.
I thought that happened when he tried to kill them when he was a baby. And when that happened...
Well, that too, but the whole blood thing...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The whole blood thing has significance still.
Oh, about the piece of soul attaching to Harry. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But anyway...
I know what you mean.
But then, so I was just reveling in how much J.K. Rowling playing down her world. But then, at the end, like the very, very end of the book, is they're leaving the school to go back to the Hogwarts Express. And you know how they have the horseless carriages that bring them up to the thing? She makes specific mention of the carriage not being pulled by anything, about it being a horseless carriage. But then the beginning of the 5th book, when Harry goes back to Hogwarts, is when he first sees the Thestral, which is a mythical creature, a magical creature in the Harry Potter universe that you can only see if you've seen someone die in front of you. So he should have been able to see it at the end of the 4th book, but she didn't think about that until the beginning of the 5th book. Right. So it was just that weird little dichotomy, and I totally forget why we even... Oh, because we were talking about world building.
Yes. Yeah. This has been a day of tangents.
I know.
So what was it talking about Smaug again?
I asked you which book was written first.
Right. And before that, I was just talking about why Smaug was so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And especially what I really liked about what they did with him in the movie was when he first speaks to Bilbo, you can tell already that Smaug wants to kill him, but he's never seen a hobbit before. He knows it's not a dwarf. And he knows that this isn't something he's familiar with because he smells him and he's like, I've never smelled you before, so where'd you come from? And Bilbo has been very good throughout the journey as being a very quick thinker. He can think on his feet, and he makes riddles, as done by the famous riddle in the dark with Gollum. And when he's trying to give all these riddles to Smaug, he kind of retorts back and says, oh, really? He basically goes like, oh, really? Nice try. And there's one part, oh my gosh. I love it so much because he straight up calls out Bilbo when you know all the nicknames I said. So he uses all those nicknames on Smaug, and Smaug basically goes, "Do you think flattery is going to keep you alive?" And he's like, "What?" And it's like, and Smaug was like, "No, it's not. But please keep going." And so what I really like is that Smaug is also he has a huge ego. He's very arrogant. He knows about his power because rightfully so. And I just love the way they kind of play that out throughout the story because he's just such a cool villain. And honestly, I loved when critics saw the movie, they said that he was probably cinema's best dragon. And I still stand by that statement. He's just absolutely fantastic. So Smaug, wrap it up. This has been a very long ABC. One of the greatest dragons ever made. So cool. Voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. Great story behind him. If you read the book or you see the movie, it's both a treat. And yeah, where can you go wrong with dragons? I feel like they did a terrible job with this ABC of Geekdom.
No, I enjoyed it very much, which is saying something considering how much I care about Lord of the Rings.
You also have to watch it too.
Yeah, I know. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Okay, well, that was fun.
I'm gonna listen back to this segment, and I thought, oh my god, this is a mess.
I'm sorry. I feel like it's mostly my fault.
No, it's also because I kept getting drawn into the conversation.
Oh yeah.
But honestly, no regrets. I like the tangents.
I love tangents. I think that's what I like. Not just us, like any podcast. I think like tangents are what make a podcast good. Really.
Yeah, because that's when I don't want to say they go off script.
Yeah.
Because we never follow a script.
Right.
We follow a format.
Yeah.
But when the tangents kind of come out, you see more of a human organic side.
Yeah.
See, that was a tangent on itself.
All right. Well, anyway, so let's do some corrections here. So the first one is the very beginning of our last episode. I did a nickname for Brandon, as I always do, but I had to explain this one for once. So for those who don't recall, I called him... I was making reference to Chip Skylark, who was a pop singer in the Fairly Odd Parents cartoon.
Yeah, you explained it on that.
No, I know. I was just reminding the people. Anyway, so I was saying that I was trying to think of Justin Timberlake, and then I mentioned Aaron Carter's brother. So his name is Nick Carter, and he was in the Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
And then Justin Timberlake, I forget where we landed on that, but he was in NSYNC. So I just wanted to make sure that we got that right, just for the record. Because... I know you said it, but I'm not sure which one you said.
About...
If he was in NSYNC or Backstreet
Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
I said he was in NSYNC.
Okay. I believe you. Oh, also, just... This is funny. So I just typed NSYNC in all lowercase letters in my phone, and then it auto-corrected it to having the little asterisk in all caps. Yeah, it was like... That's like a really specific autocorrect. Because it's really... You know what's really dumb is that for iPhone, like, it doesn't autocorrect Batman and Superman to proper capitalization. Because, like, when is that ever going to, like, come up in regular conversation? Like, it's obviously... I'm talking about the superheroes, or hero and superhero. But anyway. Okay, so then we moved on to talk about our ABCs of Geekdom. We talked about Reggie Fils-Aime. And I made mention to Bill Trinen.
Good old Reggie.
Good old Reggie. I made mention to Bill Trinen.
Is your Reggie ready?
For E3?
Yeah.
Yeah, very ready.
My Reggie is ready.
Oh, that reminds me. There's a joke that I forgot to make on the podcast. So, or last week, I mean. So, there's this webcomic called Brawl in the Family, which I highly recommend. It's all Nintendo-themed humor. It's over now, which is really sad. But it's all still online, available for free. So if you're into Nintendo and you like comic strips, like definitely go check them out. But anyway, so they did a podcast, or the creator and like his buddy did a podcast. They only ever put out a few episodes, but listen to a couple of them. So the main guy, his name is totally escaping me right now, but he went to E3 like recently in the last episode that they ever made, which was a couple years ago. And he went into the bathroom and Reggie came up to pee right next to him. So the guy standing there doing his business, Reggie's doing his business, and they finished and they went to go wash their hands, and the guy was like really nervous. So all he could really do was just say hi, like it's nice to meet you, like it's an honor or whatever. And Reggie was very friendly, said nice to meet you too, whatever. Matthew, that's his name. And so then he's recounting this tale, and he's like, after he walked out of the bathroom and he and Reggie parted ways, he thought of the perfect joke. It was he should have said, "My potty is ready." Yeah. Anyway, so Bill Trinen, I mentioned him. His job title is Senior Marketing Manager for Nintendo of America. And then I was talking about the time that Reggie said he was going to kick the guy's ass because he challenged him to Smash Bros. So the Smash Brothers Invitational Tournament was in 2014, and the final match was between a player named Hungrybox and a player named Zero. So Zero ultimately won the tournament, but Hungrybox was actually the one who challenged Reggie to one-on-one Smash.
So you know what? The other day, I actually watched an interview with Reggie. Yeah, I think it was CBS.
Okay.
And I want to say it wasn't Good Morning America. It was something else. But I was watching an interview with him, and he's a really good businessman. Yeah. Because the way he was pitching, it was very recent because they're talking about the Switch, and in the way he was talking about the Switch, I was like, yeah, I totally get why you did it. Because I remember when we were watching the commercial, I thought, okay, this is basically like the PSP, only with a couple more things. And when he was pitching it, he thought, oh, you can do this for however old you are. I know, we have great games such as Zelda and Mario, but if you want to just do things with your family, you can go to this thing. You can do this thing. It's a great interactive thing. Mm-hmm. And he said, and when they asked, so aren't your games targeted to a specific age audience? He said, yes, they're targeted from, and I'm just spitballing here, I don't remember what he said, but he said, and they were from age 8 to age 90. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And the way that he gave this reasoning behind why he said that statement, I thought, yeah, totally. So, if anything, he's good at his job. I can say that definitively. He's very good at his job. Yeah. And this is just at him being interviewed.
Yeah, no, he's very charming. Like, he definitely knows his stuff. But I feel that in a lot of the, in a lot of their directs and their E3 press conferences or whatever, I feel like he's reading from the script a lot. And I feel like that,
right.
I love Reggie. I think he does a great job for Nintendo. I think he's done wonders for their business. But in that MC type of role, where he's supposed to be on stage, being a very dynamic presence, obviously reading from the script, but like making it not sound like he's reading from the script, I feel like he does that poorly. And I don't envy his job, but in that aspect, I feel like I could do that better. And I'm not much of a showman, but
maybe you could challenge Reggie to that.
Maybe.
Who could host a better, I don't know, presentation?
No, I don't want to do that. Reggie, you're doing a great job. You keep being you, man. Okay, and then the last...
He basically called you out, Reggie.
The last Reggie correction is actually, I spelled his last name wrong. So his last name is Fils-Aime, and it's Fils-Aimie. Yeah, Aimie. No, wait. No, I'm sorry. Aime. Yeah, that's it. Oh, and there's an accent over the E, if you want to get that specific about it.
I think he's Haitian, isn't he?
I've actually never looked into it. I always assumed he was like French-Canadian. But
I remember I was like looking at his Wikipedia page last week, and I think I saw he's Haitian. Yeah, his parents are Haitian.
Okay. It's interesting. Anyway, so then we were talking about the Berenstain Bears.
Oh, yeah.
So, turns out the name of the author is actually the same as the name of the bear family in the book. So, it's Berenstain, not Berenstein. It's Berenstain.
I've been saying it wrong my entire life, though.
Yeah, so on the Wikipedia page for the Berenstain Bears, there's actually a whole section devoted to the name controversy because apparently there's like official merchandise that's spelled wrong, and the author. So the books were originally written by a married couple, and now their son has taken over because they've been around for a really long time. I forget when the first one was published, but it was like way longer than I had expected. But anyway, so the male author of the two original duo, he gave an interview one time, and he said that the name spelling controversy has dated back to when he was in elementary school. One of his teachers insisted that his name was Berenstein, not Berenstain. But yeah. Also, another thing that I guess I knew, but I kind of forgot, and it's not really important. Like, there's no reason to bring it up, but I'll bring it up anyway, is that the main bear family, they don't have names. It's just...
Yep, that's right.
Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Brother Bear, and Sister Bear. Oh, and there's a baby, isn't there? Don't they have like a younger daughter? It's like an infant?
I actually don't know.
Well, there's another correction for next week. But like everyone else in the town, like they all have names. It's so weird. And then also the science book that I referenced last week. It's called The Berenstain Bears Big Book of Science and Nature.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the I think the first Google result was like the Amazon page, and so just out of curiosity, I checked. It was like $12. So
wow.
If I don't have a copy, if my mom doesn't still have our copy, I'll definitely buy that when I'm parent age, and I'll read it to my kids, and hopefully they enjoy it as much as I did.
I've thought about that. Wanting to read to my kids the same books I read growing up. I feel like it's fitting.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that way because I have almost all of the books that I read when I was a little kid. Because, my mom will, maybe once a year she'll go through the house and be like, do we really need this? Can we get rid of it? And she'll always come up with this big stack of books. And I'm always like, no, keep this, got to keep this, got to keep this. And like, it's always been because like I won't, hopefully one day I'll have kids and I really want to read this to them. Oh man, what are some of my favorite books? I could sit here all day and list all of them just off the top of my head. But No Elephants, Snow Lion, Golly Gump, Swallow to Fly. That one's my favorite.
Oh my gosh.
A little bit longer chapter books. The Trumpeter Swan, I really loved. Charlotte's Web, Frindle, that was a good book. And The Landry News and The Janitor's Boy, that was probably my favorite out of that whole series. Although I did love Frindle and The Landry News. Oh, and what was the other one? Oh, A School Story. That was a really good one. Am I like even speaking English to you? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, so there was this series of books, I don't know what the author's name was, but they were all about these kids in elementary school, and the covers of the books were all the same. They were a picture of a kid who was like turning backwards and like holding something like very close up, so the focus was on the object, but you could see like half the kid's face. That doesn't... No, actually it does. It does. Frindle was about this kid who he started this revolution in his school to change the name of the word pen to Frindle. Oh my just gosh. Oh my gosh. The Landry News is about this girl who started a school newspaper and all of the controversy that caused. The Janitor's Boy was about this kid whose dad was a janitor. And like he stole the master key and he would like go into the school, like locked rooms in the school, and he like found something really like scandalous or something like that. And then A School Story, which actually might be my favorite, is about a girl who wrote a novel. Her mom works at a publishing agency, and she's always talking about how they don't have enough what's called school stories, which is about kids who are in school, right. Like elementary, middle school age. And so the girl thinks, well, like who would know better about elementary school than a kid who's in elementary school? So she tries to write this book, and she decides to try and hide her identity, like pretend like she's an adult, because she didn't think that a kid could get like a publishing deal. And so there's this whole like like subterfuge aspect of her trying to hide her identity, because like she wants her mom to get credit for discovering this book and publishing it, because the book is really good. Like they do kind of describe some of the details. But anyway, the book's really good. The girl thinks it's going to be a huge hit. The mom gets the manuscript. She thinks it's going to be a huge hit. She wants her mom to get the credit, but like she wants to like meet her. She wants to meet the author so that she can like go over details. And anyway. But Golly Gump, I think, is probably still my favorite.
What's that one about?
So Golly Gump is the like Tri-County yawning contest champion. So the book starts out with him winning the blue ribbon in this yawning contest, which is basically just who can open their mouth the biggest. So he comes home from the fair and he's swinging on his front gate, and he's practicing his yawning, and a fly flies into his mouth. It's like, so you can feel it all buzzing around inside of his stomach. He's like, oh no, I gotta get this thing out of here. It's like, well, what do I do? So they go, I know, I'll swallow a spider. So he swallows a spider. You can feel the spider crawling around, trying to get the fly. You can feel the fly buzzing around. It's like, oh no, what am I gonna do? Well, let me swallow a bird. Swallows the bird. Feels the bird. What am I gonna do now? Oh, I'll swallow a cat. So he swallows the cat, and then he swallows a dog, and then he swallows a dog catcher. And then he says, he's freaking out because like he doesn't know what he's gonna do, and he screams at the top of his lungs. He says, if you all don't get out of there, I'm gonna swallow a grizzly bear. And they all freak out and they run out of him. And from that day on, he learned to always cover his mouth when he's yawning. And that's a good story. That's why whenever I see Robin yawning, I stick my finger in her mouth and I say, that could have been a fly. You should cover your mouth.
That reminds me of the story. There was an old lady who swallowed the fly.
That's probably like the same thing. Wait, I thought it was the old lady who lived in a shoe.
There are plenty of stories about old ladies.
Anyway, oh man, this really is a tangent-heavy episode.
I know, right?
Okay, so we just had a couple Dragon Ball Z corrections last week. So just one last one is that before Guru died, he named a Namekian named Mori as his successor.
That's right.
Not Mori, like from the TV show Moori, Moori. I haven't watched Moori in a long time.
He goes to Piccolo, you are not the father.
Moori is one of my guilty pleasures.
Mine too.
I feel a little bit of shame in admitting that.
No, don't be. I used to love watching that show.
Yeah, it was the best.
The funniest parts to me was whenever the guy would find out that he was not the father. Hands down, one of the best reactions I've ever seen. I've seen them dance. I've seen them move their bodies in ways that I didn't think were humanly possible. My gosh.
I don't know, but there's also like the sad ones where like the woman tells her husband that she's been cheating on him and she doesn't know, and like they find out he's not the father and he's devastated. Like, ugh.
Way to bring it down.
Yeah, I know.
I might watch some more tonight.
All right. Anyway, so we're talking about.
Okay. One last thing.
Go for it.
They go to Shinran and ask like, "Who is the father?"
Is that how it works?
I don't know. It's like, I wish to know who's the father.
Oh yeah, I guess that would work.
And Shinran's like, "Oh, it's another one of these." Okay. Instead of having to pay for the DNA test.
Okay, so we were talking about Dolph Lundgren. Because he was Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. So Armando mentioned his education. So he did his undergrad. He got a degree in chemical engineering from the Royal Institute of Technology, which is in Sweden. And he got his master's in the same field from the University of Sydney. He also got a Fulbright scholarship to attend the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He moved to Boston, and then he was at a nightclub where he met a woman who hired him to be her bodyguard, and then they fell in love, and they got into a relationship, and he moved with her to New York City, I believe, where he then started his acting career.
Nice.
Yeah. So then we were talking about the voice of Batman because we must have been talking. Oh yeah, we're talking about Harley Quinn, Batman and Harley Quinn movie. So in the most recent DC animated movies, which don't have like an official name, but they're all in the same continuity essentially. But is voiced by an actor named Jason O'Mara.
That's right. It's a mixture between the New 52 storylines and their own animated universe, essentially.
Yeah.
I really don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
I still think he does a decent job.
He's fine.
Yeah.
I had mentioned that Troy Baker was the voice of Batman in those movies. So he is in Batman vs. Robin specifically, but he plays an owl lieutenant. What I was thinking of is that he voices Batman in the Telltale series and the Lego games.
Yeah. And he does a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah.
I love
he's just a great voice actor in general. But, yeah. Anyway, then we watched the trailer for Logan Lucky, and I was talking when we were, just giving our thoughts on the trailer. I'd mentioned that there were some casting announcements that really surprised me, but I couldn't remember who it was. So one of them was Sebastian Stan, who, I don't know, I feel like he's popping up a lot of places. Like, the first thing that I ever remember seeing him in something else and recognizing him as, oh, he was that guy from that thing, was this show called Political Animals. I think I've talked about it on the podcast before. It was a mini series on USA Network. It was still when I was still in high school, so like 2009, 2010, somewhere in that time frame. Super, super good miniseries. I was so sad when they announced that they weren't going to make another season of it. But anyway, that's a great cast right there. You have Sigourney Weaver playing the Secretary of State, and the King Beyond the Wall. What's his name?
Are you talking about Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember we had this whole discussion.
Yeah. No, I can't even think of the character's name, though.
Mance Rayder?
Yeah, Mance Rayder. But the actor's name, and I remember it's some weird Scottish thing.
Kieran Hines?
Kieran.
Kieran Hines.
Yeah, Kieran Hines.
Yeah.
He plays her husband, who's the former president of the United States.
Oh, okay.
And then Sebastian Stan plays... they have two sons. I don't know the actor's name of the other one, but then Sebastian Stan plays a homosexual, drug-addicted, suicidal character.
Man, he just got the raw end of the straw.
Yeah, I know, right? Then he played the Mad Hatter in Once Upon a Time for a few episodes.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
And then, of course, now we all know him as Bucky Barnes, a.k.a. the Winter Soldier.
Who the hell is Bucky?
Anyway, so Sebastian Stan's in that movie. He plays a race car driver. I just thought that was really interesting. Oh, he was also in The Martian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, and then... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying it.
Oh, okay.
I was like... Because I was seeing her brother.
And then also, I don't know if this was in the trailer or not, but I just looked at the IMDb page and Seth MacFarlane is in the movie.
I want to say yes, his name came up, but I can't be definitive about that.
Okay.
But you made the correction, so no need to go back.
Okay. But, I don't know. Say what you will about Seth MacFarlane. I think he's a pretty good actor. I find him funny and very charming, so... I'm looking forward to that movie. Probably won't see it in theaters, but I'll check it out at some point. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, and then we watched the trailer for Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. So the first Lego Marvel Superheroes released October 22nd of 2013. And then the not sequel, but follow-up, spiritual successor, whatever you want to call it, to that game was Lego Marvel's Avengers, which... was the Lego video game versions of Avengers, Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America the First Avenger, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Thor the Dark World, and, unfortunately, Iron Man 3. Which is probably the best version of Iron Man 3 that exists. I own the game, haven't played it. Again, I'll get to it at some point in my life.
At some point.
So, yeah, that's good stuff. Then we talked about a Witcher, a Netflix series based on the Witcher novels. So the author of said, there's originally short stories, and I think there's a few novels too. And I'm going to butcher his name, but I'm going to do my best. His name is Andrzej Sapkowski.
That was a pretty good accent.
He is Polish. Thank you. I've never been to Poland, but maybe one day. I don't know. I know some people who've been to Poland and they didn't make it sound all that exciting, so...
Yeah, at least go for the pierogies.
I've never had a pierogi.
They're pretty good.
I'm sure they are. Anyway, and then also I said that I believe that I owned the first 2 Witcher games on Steam, but that is actually not true. I know why. It's because... So, Steam has huge sales about twice a year, you know. Lots of stuff goes on sale all the time, but like their big sales are the summer sale and the winter sale. And it's cheaper if you buy it in a bundle. So I figure, why just buy the first 2 if I know I'm going to buy the third one at some point? Might as well just wait for the third one to drop in price, because it's not like I'm going to get to them anytime soon. Because the third game I know is a gigantic game, like hundreds of hours of gameplay. So... I might as well just wait for it to drop in price. So I'm just waiting for it to get low enough where I can buy the whole bundle.
It makes sense.
My rule of thumb for Steam games is to spend no more than $5 a game.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm still shocked that games can go for that cheap.
I know. I bend the rule sometimes, but most of the games I've bought are really cheap. I want to say the most I've ever spent on a game was, there's this game called Rust.
Like on Steam or in general?
On Steam,
okay.
Yeah. This guy that I knew who lived in the dorms when I went to college, his name was Alan. He was a big PC gamer, and he knew that I'm into games. So he was like, hey, I found this new game called Rust. Like, you should totally get it. We can play together. So I bought it. It was like $25 at the time. I bought it, and then I never played it.
Did he ever ask you about it?
I think so. He might have followed up with me like a couple times, but I was always busy or just wanted to play another game. So
yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
I mean, I don't know the developer of Rust, but I assume that it's like a small indie company. So, you know, at the very worst, I got to support them and give them some of my money. So I don't feel too bad about it. But yeah.
Fair enough.
Then we talked about the CIA Angela Bassett is going to play the CIA director in the next Mission Impossible movie. I was talking about how I didn't know why she was the new CIA director. I didn't know what happened to the old one. So I looked into it. So Ethan Hunt is played by Tom Cruise. He's the main character of the Mission Impossible movies. He is on what is called the Impossible Missions Force, which is a separate government agency from the CIA. It's not like a branch of the CIA or like a special team. It's like totally separate. They have their own funding and their own director and everything. So I believe what I was thinking about was, I know that in one of the movies, the secretary or director of the IMF is turns out to be a bad guy, and Hydra. He gets replaced by
Hydra.
No, he gets replaced by man, I'm just forgetting everybody's name today. He gets replaced by Hawkeye. Jeremy Renner, that's his name.
Okay. Man, see, S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything, it's all connected.
But anyway, in the last movie that came out, Rogue Nation, Alec Baldwin plays the CIA director. And he is now in the next movie, either at the end of that movie or in the beginning of this movie, he's going to become the new head of the IMF, and Angela Bassett is going to take his place as CIA director. So,
all right.
I don't know what happened to Jeremy Renner, and I'm not going to look it up because that might spoil it for me. I've watched the first 4 movies. I haven't watched the last one. I think I said that before. But, so that's not going to be correction until I watch the movie.
Okay.
Which I'll get around to at some point. Then we talked about The Good Guys because Bradley Whitford was in that TV show and he was cast in Godzilla King of the Monsters. So that show started and ended in 2010.
Oh, just for one season? Oh.
Yeah. And then I was talking about a show that I had seen him in recently, and that was in Malcolm in the Middle. He just played, he was in one role, just a little bit part. But when I was looking him up on IMDb, the other big role that he's most famous for was on The West Wing. I don't know what exactly he did, but he was part of the president's team. Yeah. My sister's a huge fan of The West Wing. I have not watched it, but...
No, have I, but I've heard very good things.
Yeah, I have too. Robin and I are trying to finish up House of Cards, and then...
How's that going?
We're so close. I'll hopefully I'll watch it, get it done by the end. By the time we record our next episode, I'll have a hot take for it. But I'm enjoying it so far.
Because I want to start pretty soon.
Yeah. But anyway, after we get done with that, we're probably not going to watch anything until like after we move, just because we're going to be busy with, well, first of all, we don't live near each other anymore. She moved back out to Spring. So
oh my gosh. Yeah. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew she moved. Yeah, I didn't know she moved all the way back there. Dang. Where is that?
It's like 45 minutes with no traffic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not terrible, but not great.
Yeah, but just because we're both trying to save money, like it doesn't make sense for us to keep driving back and forth. So we're not seeing each other as much. And then, we've got wedding planning, and then after the wedding, we've got to like pack and stuff. So we're probably going to take a TV break. After we move, after we finish House of Cards, we're either going to watch The West Wing or Friday Night Lights.
Really? Okay.
So, but anyway, that's completely irrelevant.
It's okay. I might as well just keep going on the tangent pattern we've been going on.
Luckily, we only have 2 more corrections.
Really? So. Okay. That's not bad. We've been in here for like an hour.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
So, Thomas Middleditch was also cast in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I mentioned that he has a new gig as a spokesman, like a commercial spokesman for a cell phone company, and I couldn't remember which one it was. Turns out it's Verizon.
Okay.
The dude who's like, "Can you hear me now?" Was he for Sprint and then he switched to Verizon, or is it the other way around?
Which one is "Can you hear me now"?
I don't even remember.
Crap.
I want to say that he was Verizon and now he's Sprint.
See, I was gonna say the opposite, but I think you're right.
Well, anyway, because I was gonna say that like they lost that guy and now they replaced him with Thomas Middleditch.
That's funny.
I don't know. But anyway, final correction is we were talking about Jimmy Kimmel is going to be hosting the Oscars in 2018, and Armando asked the very poignant question: why are they called the Oscars? If the first person, because he had assumed, I guess, that the first person to ever host it was named Oscar, and they named nicknamed the statues after him, but that is actually not the case. So the real answer is that it's actually not clear as to the origin of the name. The most prevalent theory is that a woman named Margaret Herrick, who was at the time a librarian she was the Academy librarian, whatever that means. Eventually she became the executive director of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, when they first, cast these statues, she looked at it and said, "Oh, this looks like my Uncle Oscar." And the name stuck.
Oh my God.
However, there was a reporter back then named Sidney Sklosky. In 1934 was the first year that
Why don't we ever hear names like that anymore?
Sidney Sklosky?
Yeah. I feel like there certain eras have certain names associated with it. And like the 30s and the 40s.
Like Newt Scamander.
Kind of like that. Because the 1800s you had somebody named
Bartholomew.
Oh yeah, or Nathaniel or stuff like that. And now it's not present anymore. Now we have people named, I don't even know what's like a common name nowadays.
I don't know.
Because I don't hear the name Bob anymore. I've never met anybody my name. I mean, I've never met anybody my age named Bob.
Yeah, I don't think I have either, actually.
Or Bill.
I don't think I did.
See? It's like that name has slowly like faded from existence from naming your kid.
I think people started joking about it, because I remember when I was like in elementary or middle school, like when you wanted to call somebody like a hick, you would call them Billy Bob. And who wants to be named Bill or Bob?
I guess so. Maybe because like the name's just associated with like blue and white colors all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just like kind of crossed my mind. This is the stuff I think about like at 4 a.m. I'm just like, is there like, would I ever name my own son Bill? Probably not.
Well, what about William?
William is fine, but I'm still one of those people who can barely be convinced that you get Bill from William. I know people make the argument. I just think it's a very poor argument.
So you just like mean straight up Bill on the birth certificate?
Yeah.
Okay. My parents almost named me Alex on the birth certificate, but then they changed it at the last minute.
No, it's fine. I mean, I guess it's mixed. It sounds... You just want to get the full experience, I guess.
I don't know. But anyway, back to the Oscars. So Sidney Sklosky, he first covered the Academy Awards in 1934, and he went to the ceremony, and then he went to the nearest Western Union to type out his article and then send it by telegraph to whatever publication he's writing for. So it was like really late at night, and he was, he'd been sitting, with all of these high society Hollywood types, and he was very, I guess he was feeling very fed up with that whole culture. So he was mocking. He wanted to come up with a mocking term to refer to the award, and so in his memoir, which he wrote many years later, he was taking credit for coming up with this nickname. He said he referenced an old vaudevillian joke of "Would you like a cigar, Oscar?" Now, I didn't have time to go look into what the hell that's supposed to mean. I don't really care, but he said he did. However, a conflicting report also comes from that same Academy Awards that year, was that Walt Disney went to accept the award for the animated short Three Little Pigs. And in his acceptance speech, he called it an Oscar, which was already a term used to describe the award in a pejorative sense. But Walt Disney used it in a positive way, and he turned around the meaning of the Oscar, and it is now what we know it as today. So, again, these are all like urban legends. Like, there's no way to really substantiate any of these stories. So, the answer will just remain a mystery, I suppose. But that's all of our corrections. It took us a long time to get there, but there it is.
I feel like this is going to be a very long podcast.
We'll see. But anyway, let's not drag it out any longer than we have to. So, we're going to take a break and we're going to watch some trailers, and we will be right back. So, don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back. So E3 technically doesn't start until tomorrow, but the first press conference was actually yesterday at the time of recording. That was Saturday, June 10th. But just to keep everything all nice and concise, we're not going to talk about any E3 trailers today. We're going to save that all for next week. So with that in mind, the first trailer we're going to talk about is for Black Panther.
So before we start, I have to say, all the trailers we saw have been actually pretty good. Like, I know some of them were better than others, but they've all been pretty like good looking. Yeah, visually wise. Yeah. Now Black Panther. Yeah. Oh my god.
Really?
I didn't think it's like the most fantastic, but I've been so hyped about it. I was happy we got it. Something.
Yeah. I was slightly underwhelmed. Like, it looked very pretty, but I don't know what I wanted to see. I don't know. I wanted to see more than what I did see, I guess. True.
But it is like the teaser.
Yeah, I know. We don't have to have that whole discussion. Yeah. But at least the teasers that I really hated were like 15 or 20, 30-second ones.
So at least this one was essentially a trailer.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say about it. We didn't really get any story.
Right. Just shots of different characters. Yeah. We got Gollum and Bilbo together.
Yeah, you saw that.
Yeah, I was like, back to the Hobbit. Yeah. We got T'Challa, a little bit of Wakanda, his bodyguards, Forrest Whitaker real quickly.
Yeah, and Michael B. Jordan a couple times.
The guy from Get Out.
I haven't seen it, but I believe you.
Yeah, he's behind Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen Get Out either.
Oh, okay.
I know it's him.
So, I think the biggest takeaway for me from this is that at least it looks like they're teasing that Claw is going to be the main villain, which is surprising to me. Now, that's not a for sure thing.
Oh, is that what you got?
It is, just because they showed him so much be looking so villainous.
See, I got the feeling that they're going to do multiple villains for this one. Because you already got Michael B. Jordan's character, right. You got Claw, there was somebody else in the background.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know all that, but I really hope they don't fall into that trap this early.
True.
That just really never works out well for anybody.
I will say in that defense, though, that some of his storylines, his villains have come together, and they've made for some pretty compelling stories. Yeah. I just don't know how it works in the movie format.
But yeah, I liked what I saw. I definitely want to see more. I obviously want to see the movie, but it was a thing.
The one thing that I've been trying to get over is that this is just like me talking, just because I like to pay attention to the details. Is that you can always see usually whenever they're doing like the hero's making a second appearance, they usually modify the suit in some way. And I know there's modifications to his suit that he's wearing, and I like it. But his mask, I'm not sure how I feel about his new mask, or if it is a new mask or whatever. If you haven't seen it, you can go back and look it up. It's there. I just like the design elements. So when I saw it, it didn't bother me. I'm just like, I want to see more comparison and kind of see and understand why they chose the decisions that they made. It just, I don't know why I like design so much. Like, I watched a whole thing on Game of Thrones on Facebook when they released a video about the person who is the head designer. Basically everything I learned in my design class in theater. I'm like, man, I wish I could get this to be my job. I'm not a good designer by any means, though.
Well, anyway, Black Panther, it's coming out. I think it's going to be good.
I think so, too. Yeah. I really hope so.
So the second trailer I watched was for Baby Driver, second trailer.
This one was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So good. Like, I've never seen any of Edgar Wright's movies. But I started seeing some clips the other day, and I love just how good he is visually with all this stuff. So when I was seeing this trailer, I thought, oh, maybe it'll reflect some of that stuff that I've seen. Oh my goodness. So good. So good.
Yeah, I mean, like, there was almost no story in this one. Like, I think the only thing I would consider story is Kevin Spacey trying to get together this crew, which, I mean, like, that can be the plot of like 1,000 different movies, so it's nothing to speak of.
No, that's true.
Yeah, it was just, really a lot like the first trailer, like very punchy, like quick shots of just like crazy driving maneuvers and like some quips between the people.
But like, you like what you see.
Oh
though.
yeah, no,
and
for
then
sure.
You kind of want to keep watching. Like, what else are you gonna show?
Yeah, they threw up like a critic quote, like, you know, like they do for a lot of trailers, and it was, this movie uses music like the rest of us use air, which is a very interesting phrase to use. Yeah, so that has me really interested. I'm not usually one to pay attention to, you know, score and music and that kind of thing, but that was that makes it sound unique. And you know, a lot of this movie really isn't unique. Like the whole getaway driver heist, one last score, all of that's been done before. And yes, Edgar Wright is a brilliant writer and director and everything, so visually it looks great, but from a story perspective, you know, I think they need to do something to change it up so that it can have its own identity.
No, and I think that's a good thing. We don't know really this story too much.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to this movie. So then after that, we watched 2 trailers for a movie called It Comes at Night. So we watched the most recent trailer first, and that trailer could not have made me less interested in that movie. Like, I was so bored and just like, what is happening? Like, this does not look like my kind of movie at all. I don't know about you.
I thought it was decent. I mean, these 2 trailers, because we saw both of them. The one came out a month ago.
Well, I'm just talking about the second.
I know, and then the one came. But I have to say, both of them didn't really tell me anything about what was going on.
Well, yeah.
Besides the fact that you're not supposed to go out, really. I like the editing in the second one better. And whenever I talk about trailers, I feel like I come at it from a different perspective, usually from like the way they edit or the formatting of the trailer, as opposed to what they talk about. I never want a trailer to say too much, but that's just the way I kind of go about it. I don't know how you go into talking about trailers.
I don't know.
Because we've been doing this for a long time, but we've never really, really discussed that.
Yeah. No, for me, it's like content first. Yeah, much more about the visual aspects than technical aspects. I mean, that's just kind of how I am about movies in general. Just, you know, my first viewing, just because of the way my brain works, I'm not thinking about, how are they doing this editing, or like how could this have been shot differently, or like what kind of color correction do they do post-production, that kind of thing.
I wish I could go... Not wish. Sometimes I wish I could go back to that, because I sometimes miss just watching something for the way it is. But after studying all I've had for the past 4 years, I can't do that anymore. So I can still, you're very much right, look at a trailer or a movie or a show and accept it for the story and the concept for what it is. But at the same time, I've studied everything too much where I can't look at something and think about in the back of my mind, okay, how could I have done this differently? Or how does this reach to a certain standard? Is it good? Is it subpar?
Yeah, no. I think that's only natural. Like, for example, when I listen to podcasts, you know, because of, you know, our process here, I always think like, I would have cut that out, or I would have like moved these sound clips around, that kind of thing. So I definitely know where you're coming from.
I can agree with you, though. Didn't really know what was going on in this movie. It looks good. Yeah. I just don't know what else to say about it, because us describing it wouldn't do a very good job of relaying the images that we saw. Yeah.
The first trailer, which was the second one that we saw, I thought was much better. It made me more interested in the movie. Probably still not like super duper interested, but it gave it it gave it a very 10 Cloverfield Lane vibe to me. Okay, that's which I know you haven't seen, but it had a lot of those kind of themes. But there was also there's some sort of illness that's like contagious, I guess, because at the very end, this girl and this guy are kissing, and she like pukes on him, kind of, but not like gross puke, this like satanic kind of thing.
She was all like atrocities on him.
But yeah, it's a thing, I guess. I don't know.
I had to wait to watch this trailer with you because it kept coming up on my videos every time on YouTube. Yeah. And I wouldn't watch it because I had a feeling that, okay, Alex is going to talk about this. And now that we're talking about it, I feel like I could have just watched the trailer by myself.
So then after that, we watched a trailer for a movie called American Made.
Yeah.
MADE, not like...
Yeah, that's what I first thought when you told me. I'm like, this is okay. So I had to see what the suggestion box on YouTube would tell me.
Yeah. I like this trailer a lot.
Actually, yeah. The opening was really funny to me. Like, I didn't bust out laughing, but I really liked it. He dives the plane. He lands in the neighborhood. He's covered in cocaine. And he gives money to some kids. And does he, like, take a bike and bike away? Okay. Yeah. And the whole premise, like, I can kind of get what it's trying to say, but at the same time, I don't want to make assumptions just quite yet.
Yeah.
But it looks very interesting.
I don't know if you've seen this movie. It reminded me a lot of Lord of War.
I haven't.
So that was this movie that came out like, oh man, that was a long time ago. It was like in 8th grade, I think. Mm-hmm. Starring Nicolas Cage, who plays a gun runner. He sells guns to like African not tribal leaders, like gang leaders. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that for some reason. I haven't seen that movie in so long. But yeah, this movie stars Tom Cruise. He was the only person I really recognized, I think.
Yeah.
But he plays an airline pilot who gets recruited by the CIA to smuggle drugs into other countries. And he makes a boatload of cash off of it, and naturally he becomes corrupt. Like, he starts playing both sides of the field and just doing all these shady, underhanded things, becoming obscenely rich. And
I actually know one of the people now.
Okay.
So you know his wife? I think that's his wife. Her name is Sarah Wright. Do you know who she is? Jerry's daughter from Parks and Recreation. Okay. The one that Chris dated. Yeah, then he fell into depression because of. That's why I thought she was familiar looking.
So yeah, this movie just looks really funny. Oh, another movie that really reminded me of was The Wolf of Wall Street. Which I don't know if you've seen that movie either. Oh man, that movie's bonkers. But yeah, it reminded me of that too. Just yeah, so it looked really funny. Like, it looked like there's some good action. Like, the plot looked pretty interesting to me too. Supposedly based off of a true story, but I feel like a lot of movies like that, like the really crazy ones, are.
They like to embellish some stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought it was a good trailer.
Me too.
Then switching over to video games, we watched the Pokémon Direct.
Oh my gosh.
So, the Pokemon Company announced that they're going to be holding a Nintendo Direct. They announced it on Monday night. The Nintendo Direct was the next morning, so people were like flipping out. And they were like, oh, Pokemon Stars confirmed. They're going to show it all, and there's going to be Pokemon on the Switch. But of course, they are all sorely mistaken. I, of course, was one of the people who knows better than that, because I just know Pokemon too well at this point. So anyway, the actual video it's a short story, basically. It's like a short film, I guess is really the best way to put it, with like Pokemon sprinkled throughout. It's about this guy who travels, they don't say what country, but I took it to be somewhere in Asia.
And because they were all Asian.
Yes.
Until he meets people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And he's going to visit his brother, and he has his Switch with him.
Right.
And along the way, he meets some people, and he plays this game, which they're announcing, Pokémon Tournament DX. Now, longtime listeners of our show the name Pokémon Tournament will sound very familiar to them. We've talked about that quite a bit. Actually, that first came out like at the very beginning of when we first started recording this show. Yeah. So Pokémon Tournament DX is going to be the game moved over to the Switch. So you'll be able to take it on the go and have 2-player fights with each person, Joy-Con, and the whole gimmick of the Switch, with some added characters. So the 4 DLC characters that we've been talking about for a while now. So to recap, that is Empoleon, which I'm super excited for, Darkrai, Croagunk, and Scizor. as well as a 5th character who has not come to the arcade version, which is Decidueye, which is the grass type starter from Pokemon Sun and Moon. So, and one other thing that they've announced is that there's going to be a new fight mode, which is 3-on-3 battles, which I think is a really great addition for the game. Hopefully this helps it pick up some more competitive scene play, and I think this will be the new like standard format for the game.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I was telling Alex when I was watching this, we were watching this trailer. I don't know if I could call it a trailer. I totally forgot he was going to see his brother and his nephews because he gets so caught up playing his game and he meets so many other people. And I just thought like, oh yeah, I forgot he was doing that.
Yeah.
Also, I was also thinking about how many people in real life do I actually end up meeting that likes the similarities. But then again, I'm not traveling internationally, so I guess I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then he met like one really cute girl. I'm like, did you just like play a match with her? Did you get her number? Did you like? I'm glad you guys became friends, but I mean, I want to know a little bit more.
I went out for breakfast this morning, and for the first time, I saw someone carrying around a Switch. It was a little boy, he's probably like 8 or 9. Okay.
Did you challenge him?
I didn't have mine with me, and I also don't have the game because it's not out yet. The only game I have still is Zelda.
You could still just challenged him. Probably be kind of weird, like a 20. How old are you?
24.
24-year-old man just challenging a little kid.
Yeah, well,
throwing your bagel down and like challenge him now.
Anyway, so then they transition straight from there. The guy brings his nephews some presents, and inside the presents are another new game, which is Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. Now, this part of the direct was very, very short. It was probably like 30 seconds total. But they just showed off some new landscapes of Alola, like this shot of a bunch of Pikachu all congregated in one area. Most importantly, what they showed was the legendaries from the box art legendaries from the first games, Solgaleo and Lunala, in these new forms. Now, this is total wild speculation on everybody's part. You know, they haven't said anything. To me, they look very much like Megazords because, you know, if you've watched any Power Rangers, throughout the course of the season, like the Zords get like upgrades, like they have the same form but with like more armor and
right. Real quick tangent, do you remember that one episode where we just spent like a good hour on Power Rangers?
That was a great episode.
The different seasons, and then somehow the next episode we went back to Power Rangers and we spent another like, I want to say at least 45 minutes talking about Power Rangers.
That was a great episode.
Oh my,
it's one for the books.
Gosh.
So yeah, my theory, and I wish I could take credit for this, but I can't. I don't know who did come up with it, but there's another legendary Pokemon in the game called Necrozoma, who is he's actually not a rock type, but he looks like he's made out of granite, kind of. He's very big and bulky and angular, and all black. And the new armor-like pieces that we see on Solgaleo and Lunala are very reminiscent of his design. So it looks like a kind of mech fusion type of deal going on, which could either be really lame or really cool. I've thought for a long time that like Pokemon Fusion is like the next logical step for the series, because you know we have Mega Evolutions, which is like superpowered forms of Pokemon in battle. We have Z moves, which are superpowered forms of moves in battle. I think Fusion just makes sense. Like it goes along with the trend of always adding a new mechanic to the games. Now, that's a little bit iffy because we first got Mega Evolution introduced in X and Y, which was the first games in the 6th generation, and Z moves were introduced in Sun and Moon, which was the first games in the 7th generation. So it makes sense for them to add a new mechanic like that in the first games of the 8th generation, but, you know, maybe they're just trying to be big and flashy. Who knows? Importantly, this game is not for the Switch. They are for the 3DS. So a lot of people threw a fit about that. I don't care. I still play my 3DS every day. It doesn't bother me. I think 3DS hardware is, yes, it's very old, but I think it works fine. So I'm happy about it. Nice. The last thing that was announced in this Direct that we actually didn't watch because it wasn't really worth discussing all that much is that they're going to be re-releasing Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver for the Virtual Console on 3DS.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I didn't pick up Red and Blue or Yellow when they came out for 3DS Virtual Console. Gold and Silver are better in every way. Like, honestly, like they're just completely better games.
Yeah, let's be honest.
But I don't know if I'll be picking them up just because I don't have time to play those games again. Like, I love them, but I've got a lot to do in the video game department.
Just wait till retirement.
And then after that, we watched a trailer for a game called Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
No idea what happened in this trailer.
Yeah, it was all just gameplay. It wasn't too exciting.
It looked fun. I had no idea what was going on in this trailer.
Yeah, so
this game... It reminded me a little bit of Castlevania.
Yeah. So this game was a Kickstarter-backed project several years ago, and it either was or still is the highest-backed game on Kickstarter of all time. Because it was announced by the guy who created Castlevania to be a spiritual successor to that franchise, even though Castlevania is still going on. And you could definitely feel the Castlevania DNA in there. I've never played in Castlevania, so I don't actually know too much about it. But, actually, I just realized this is the second week in a row we're talking about Castlevania.
Yep.
This game it's a side scroller, like it's a 2D plane, but all of the models in it are 3D, which I feel like kind of works to its detriment. I don't think it really looked that great. Now, granted, we didn't the game looks a lot different watching a video as opposed to actually playing it on your console or whatever, but I didn't think it looked all that impressive. The gameplay,
I appreciated it.
Yeah, the gameplay looked fun. They showed off this boss battle with this blood spewing umbrella lady.
Back to the blood.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I bet you freaking Atrocitus is a part of the development crew. He's like, what should we do? Spit out blood.
Well, it is called Bloodstained.
True. Probably Atrocitus sees this and he gets triggered.
But yeah, it's a thing. Probably not my thing, but nonetheless, it is a thing.
True. Very true.
And then finally, we watched a commercial for Super Nintendo World. So this is the theme park that is a collaboration between Nintendo and Universal Studios that's been talked about for a couple years now. And this is our first look at anything concrete, and even then, it's not much to look at because it was a completely CGI trailer. It was Mario running around in a CGI world. There was the coin blocks, there was Bowser's Castle, typical, Mushroom Kingdom type of visuals, and there was some real life people walking around too. So it didn't really show us anything in the park. It's just kind of like, hey, this is a thing. If you know about it, don't forget about it. If you don't know about it, hey, this is a thing. So I don't know. I definitely want to go. I would really like to go like the opening day. Now tickets to Japan, getting there, a little bit more complicated since I will be a married man at that point, but we'll see. I believe their current plan is actually to open the park at the same time as the Tokyo Olympics.
Okay.
So it's going to be 2020?
I want to say maybe.
Yeah, because the Summer Olympics were last year, so next one would be 2020. So that's a long time from now that I think about it.
I don't know, man. I feel like we're going to come up on 2018 pretty soon.
That's true.
Because I feel like a year isn't even that long anymore.
Yeah.
Time is irrelevant. Everything just kind of mushes together.
Yeah. So anyway, I really want to go.
You think we can ride a Yoshi there? Like, you can ride your own Yoshi at the park?
Well, in Super Mario Sunshine, there was a level based off of an amusement park, and there was a Yoshi merry-go-round, and I think that would be perfect.
I don't know. Maybe you could just pay a guy in a Yoshi costume, like, hey, can you carry me for the rest of the day? was like, yeah, okay. Well, you can ask, can he jump right here? I was like, oh, okay.
Or, what would be really cool is when you go to the mall now, they have these little, they're kind of like very small ATVs to ride around on that have like these bear like costumes on them, kind of. So it just kind of looks like you're riding a bear.
Nice.
So maybe they could do something like that.
Did we ever talk about on the podcast about the Mario carts in Target?
No.
The shopping carts?
No.
Haven't seen one yet.
Yeah, I don't think I have either, but I don't go into Target all that much.
I go in like once a week. I love Target.
Oh, I love Target.
It's ridiculous how much I love Target. I don't know why. I love Target so much.
Okay, so now on to some news, and unfortunately we have to start with a bit of sad news. Just yesterday, the beloved actor Adam West passed away at the age of 88 from leukemia. It was a apparently short battle, so I don't think he suffered, so that's always good to know.
Sad.
It really is sad. He was a giant. Everybody knows Adam West, and after he passed away, the news came out. Like, I started seeing all of these tweets from all these actors who had worked with him doing all of these things. Like, he was on Batman the Animated Series. He did a guest spot on Fairly Odd Parents one time. Just like all of these really cool like cartoons that I know and love, and I didn't even I'm sure I heard his voice and didn't even realize it was him.
What I really liked is that he still did Batman things long after his time as Batman was finished. Yeah, and he wanted to do it too. They didn't just say, "Hey, we'll pay you this much money to come back." He genuinely wanted to come back and do some stuff.
Mm-hmm. We report on a lot of celebrity, well, maybe not a lot. We report on celebrity deaths on this podcast when I feel like they're relevant, but usually it's out of respect for their career and what they've contributed to, pop culture. But they usually don't really affect me emotionally. But this one it was hard to take.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Mr. West. You will certainly be missed. Also, an actor named Peter Sallis passed away this past week at the age of 96. He was best known as the voice of Wallace in Wallace and Gromit. Yeah. Which was, again, like, that was a huge part of my childhood, Wallace and Gromit. Just, like, so much fun. Like, their weird British wit just always made me laugh.
The cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. So, sad stuff. Okay, well, let's move on to some happier news here. We got a bunch of casting announcements in some various movies this week. The first one is more Godzilla casting. Is Zhang Ziyi. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. She was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which I've seen once. It was a unique experience. I don't have a lot of familiarity with kung fu movies, but I remember when it came out, like, everyone was freaking out about the effects in that movie.
Still haven't finished that movie. I have to finish that movie eventually.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about her acting ability, but it's cool, I guess.
You're the worst encouraging person of all time.
I don't know anything to say about her. I just figured
a real host would do his research before.
Look, I spend all of my time doing research for the corrections.
Maybe it's not a prioritize.
You shut your mouth. And then an actress named Hannah John-Kamren is going to play, quote, a key role in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay.
Now, again, I don't know anything about this chick, but I don't know what, quote, key role means. The first thing that springs to mind is that she's going to play Janet, who was the original Wasp, when her and Ant-Man were a crime-fighting duo. So obviously it would be some sort of flashback. In the first Ant-Man movie, we did see, I guess we only saw one flashback at the very beginning of the movie. But I could see...
No, kind of two.
What was the other one?
The second one.
With the missile?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's why it would work, is because we do see the Wasp, but she's completely suited up, so they didn't have an actor or actress for that role. So I could see that. It would make sense. Or it could be somebody else. She could be the new bad guy. Because I don't know any Ant-Man villains other than Ultron, which they already did, and Yellow Jacket, which they also already did. So she could be some villain that I don't know of. That would be cool. We don't really have a lot of female villains in the Marvel universe. Obviously, in Thor Ragnarok, the main villain is going to be female, but I think they could do another one and get away with it.
Yeah. I'm with you. I actually don't know too many Ant-Man villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Because Yellow Jacket really... They made that for the movie. Because Yellow Jacket was another alter ego for Hank Pym.
Well, yeah, but he was like a anti-hero type of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I like that they did that with Yellow Jacket. I feel like with Ant-Man, they're going to have to get creative with some other things, and some other things they'll have to kind of revamp for their characters and villains. Mm-hmm. And I'm totally fine with that because, you know, in the beginning, it was always against with the MCU kind of changing it up, but I've come to appreciate it with the big picture of all things, how they've done. Because I remember after every movie, I'd be like, oh, I didn't like they did this, I didn't like they did that. And then you see, for the most part, they rectify what they're doing, or they explain why they made the choices that they did.
Yeah. Okay, and then third casting announcement is an actress named Jennifer Connelly, which should sound familiar. She's a fairly well-known actress. She was cast in the Snowpiercer TV series coming up on TNT.
I forgot that was the thing.
Yeah, me too. But I'm still looking forward to it, personally. I might be the only person.
Probably. I still remember that movie. I was like, what the hell is going on?
That was such a good movie, though.
It was good. But I still remember, I will never get over this. That fish. That one fish that he slips on.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was all the way in the front of the cart, I guess.
Yeah, train car.
Yeah, and then after that, somehow it finds its way all the way in the back.
So Jennifer Connelly, I mean, she's been in a bunch of stuff. The only movie that I can really clearly remember her in that I know I've seen was in a movie called He's Just Not That Into You, which that was a weird movie. I don't know what else she's been in. I know she's like a well-established actress. I just don't know anything else. But I think she's a good actress. I'm not really sure. Okay. Well, feel free to jump in, but I guess you don't know.
How am I supposed to jump into something I don't know?
Well, maybe you know more about Jennifer Connelly than I do.
I do not. Okay. And I can say that with honesty. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and lie on my butt.
Have you seen He's Just Not That Into You?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Don't watch it.
Really? Is that with Amanda Bynes?
No. You're thinking of...
She's the Man.
Yeah. No. So He's Just Not That Into You was a book, like a relationship advice type of book, written by this dude. So the plot of the movie, because it's a nonfiction book, so the plot of the movie is almost entirely made up, but it's about a bunch of couples who have relationship problems. So in this movie, she's married to Bradley Cooper, who is having an emotional affair with Scarlett Johansson.
Dude, she's married to Paul Bettany.
Really?
Yeah.
And their marriage is just like falling apart. She thinks that because he's obviously lying to her because he's spending all this time with Scarlett Johansson's character. And she thinks that he's smoking, and that's what he's being all evasive about because she tried to get him to quit. And she gets really fixated on his like smoking problem. And yeah, it was very emotional. And there's also, there's a bunch of people in that movie. But yeah. So another announcement this week was that there's going to be a live action version of Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So Cowboy Bebop is an anime, a very highly regarded anime. Spoilers for a hot take sometime in the future is I'm planning on watching that very soon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because it's really short. It's like 20-something episodes.
I haven't finished it. I've seen most of it, though. It's really good.
Yeah. So
you're going to enjoy it.
I'm sure I will. But so I know it's like in space. There's like some light Wild West themes to it. But that's all
Cowboy.
That's all I really know about it. Yeah.
I can't really explain it to you because as with animes like this, you kind of need to watch it to kind of put the pieces together. And then after that, they kind of leave some things open to interpretation.
But will it work live action?
I don't know. Anime, just like video games, anime doesn't have the best reputation for that either.
That is true. I mean, we talked about the Witchblade live action adaptation. Yeah. That's actually a reboot. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there was another one that we talked about pretty recently that was getting a live action version.
Was it Full Metal Alchemist?
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that.
Okay.
Was there another one, though? I don't remember. Anyway.
Man, we'll go through so much stuff.
That's true.
You can't expect me to categorize everything in my mind.
True. So Westworld is a thing, which is set in space and it's about the Wild West. So I feel like they were like, hey, we got an anime that's a lot like this. Yeah. So that's cool, I guess. If you like Cowboy Bebop, then awesome. The theme song is really cool, so I hope they do like a good, like, either just have that straight up as their theme song or have like a cool cover of it or something. Yeah. Okay, so this is a weird one. Universal Pictures confirmed that they're going to have, they didn't say when, but they're going to have the Phantom of the Opera and the Hunchback of Notre Dame in the quote dark universe that they are building. So that consists of properties like Godzilla and King Kong, and there's some other ones that we've been mentioned. Oh, like The Mummy is part of it, and they have a Dracula movie in the works. So they're all in the same universe now. Yeah, I know. Brandon's making this really weird face, kind of like he just like smelled somebody's fart that smelled really bad. What?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's break it down one at a time. Phantom of the Opera. Have you seen Phantom of the Opera?
No, I haven't.
Okay, but you know the story.
I know the story.
Opera. Okay. I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, the musical aspect, not so much. But, you know, he's this very dark, brooding character, and that fits into a dark universe. So
why don't we just why don't we just make him a Batman villain now?
I think you're thinking of Mask of the Phantasm.
I know what I'm about, son. Okay, don't give me that.
Hunchback of Notre Dame also. So it was originally a novel written by...
which is really dark.
Yeah. Written by Victor Hugo. And was then adapted into a Disney movie.
Which is still kind of dark.
It is. I have actually never seen it, but I know the story.
Yeah.
There's also a Broadway musical, which is kind of a mesh of the two. Like, it's more faithful to the story, but it incorporates most of the music from the Disney movie with some of their own original pieces. Right. So yeah, two musicals. Both of the characters are like deformed and hide themselves from the world, and they're really mysterious, and they catch the affections of these two women. Well, Quasimodo not so much, but you know what I mean. He catches affections for her. So yeah, I'm surprised that Disney doesn't still own the rights, but I don't know. So yeah, that's a thing. Okay, next. You know Vince Gilligan?
I do.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah.
Can you introduce me?
Sure. Look at my phone. What do you want to say to him?
Tell him...
Say my name.
No, I was going to say I want him to retcon the ending of Breaking Bad.
Oh, come on. We talked about this.
Anyway, so he is working on a Breaking Bad virtual reality simulation game type of deal. So if you've ever wanted to cook meth from the comfort of your own living room, now's your chance.
Or have some of Los Pollos Hermanos chicken.
Oh, yeah. Now, this was the only thing that they said was that he's working on it. He is involved. They didn't really say when or what it's going to be about or what you're doing. But I'm down. Yeah. I haven't tried VR yet, so this might be a good entryway.
Starting point, yeah.
Okay, next. There's going to be a Broadway SpongeBob musical.
You know what?
Coming in November.
I heard about this. I think we talked about this.
Did we?
I don't know if we have. I feel like we did on the episode when we were talking about Memento. When I was talking about Hamilton, I feel like they came up, but I could be wrong.
So.
But either way, regardless, I heard about this. And I'm okay. I'm okay with this.
I figured you would.
I am totally fine with this. I've seen some reviews about people who like previewed it. They said it was actually not surprisingly good.
I mean, like in the various SpongeBob episodes, like there have been like musical numbers. Now, and there have also been SpongeBob movies, so I don't know if this is gonna be like musical versions of the SpongeBob movies,
I think it has,
like a new story, or I don't know. But if you're a SpongeBob fan, then get yourself to New York City and watch the Big Sponge on the big stage
in the Big Apple.
Yeah.
What? Why are you so?
I don't know. I was like really grasping at straws for this week. Okay, so next thing.
I could probably afford this one over Hamilton. Let's be real.
Probably afford a new car over Hamilton.
Probably.
All right, so Chris Evans has agreed to be in Avengers 4.
I heard. I'm very happy about this.
So I remember when they first launched the MCU that they made a big deal that Chris Evans signed a 9-movie contract. So it was for 3 Captain America movies, which we've already gotten, for 3 Avengers movies, which with Infinity War Part 1, which is coming out next year, we will have gotten, and for 3 cameos, which I know he did 1 in Thor 2, and actually that's the only one that I know of for sure. You haven't seen enough MCU movies to really know, so I won't ask you. But anyway, he has agreed to do Avengers 4, which is good. Now I didn't read the article, but the quote that was in the tweet that I read is that this movie Avengers 4 is going to, quote, tie everything together or something along those lines. So that sounds like the end of Captain America's story to me. Now I don't think he's gonna die. I wouldn't mind if he died, but I don't think he will. I'm not much more interested, but I'm interested to see where Robert Downey Jr. goes from here, because he has been the linchpin of the MCU, really. And it can definitely survive without him, but I don't think it'll be the same without him.
I agree.
So we'll see. I definitely think he'll take a step back, but I think I could see him still appearing in the various movies.
Also, because with Spider-Man: Homecoming, I'm surprised at how much of a role he's having. So,
or maybe he doesn't want to stop being Iron Man. Maybe he wants to do it until like he can't.
I mean, would you?
Yeah, I would, and he doesn't have the same problem as Hugh Jackman, where he has to be super ripped all the time, because Iron Man has the suit. Like, you never see Tony, with his shirt off. So he can keep doing it until he's, old and wrinkly and pudgy, and it doesn't matter because he just puts on the armor and you can't tell him.
He works out for this role. I mean, maybe definitely not extensively as some other people, but he still works out a little bit.
Sure, but my point is
more than you and I.
Well, yeah. Anyway, speaking of MCU, James Gunn is going to be helping with the, quote, cosmic universe even after he gets done writing and directing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay. That's good.
It is good. But this whole cosmic universe thing has me very intrigued, because this is the first I've heard of a subsection of the MCU of this, quote, cosmic universe. Now, obviously it makes sense because the Guardians are, literally and metaphoric or it's the opposite of literally, figuratively, so detached from the Avengers at the moment. Like, we know they're going to be part of Infinity War, so it'll all get tied together then. But at the moment, they're so far away from everything that's happening on Earth that it totally makes sense for there to be another subsection. But I don't know of any other movies that tie into the cosmic universe, other than you can make the argument that Captain Marvel does because of the whole Kree angle, but she also does live on Earth. So
I mean, they could definitely go more with the Nova Corps.
Yeah.
I know James Gunn he wasn't a fan of the Nova Corps, but...
Well, that's because they nerfed them so much.
Yeah, but now that they're going to expand the universe, I think they have to realize we have to do more with this now.
That would be awesome.
They can explore more of the races, and the races that they have rights to. What else? Oh, so I doubt they're going to do this one. But there was a storyline when Ultron, his consciousness went into outer space. And he assimilated it into alien technology. And he took over it. And they began... He became their leader. So he started to conquer the Kree Empire. And that was actually a really interesting storyline. So... really long stretch, but it is possible. So it'd be a good way to bring Ultron back.
I have always wanted a Secret Invasion movie. Now, I don't think we've ever talked about it on mic before, but like we've had a conversation about it, elsewhere. Yeah. About how they would have to lay the groundwork for that for like years and for like maybe not years, but like for many movies prior to that. And of course, there's also the whole part of the Skrulls. I don't think that Marvel owns the rights to them, or Marvel Studios. So it's kind of a bummer, but hopefully one day that can happen. That would definitely qualify for the Cosmic Universe. Yeah. So anyway, James Gunn, I think he's been a great part of the success of the Guardians movies. So I'm happy that he'll be sticking around. Okay, last news item for this week is that, now this is potential, this is not confirmed, but we may not be getting season 8 of Game of Thrones until 2019.
I heard about this too.
Yeah. So that's lame. Like, really lame. But because they're just like stringing us along. It's like, we want you to keep watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but they also have to like do reshoots and editing and everything.
I know, but... And
also, because I think... Didn't they say that the season finale for season 7 is going to be one of the longest episodes?
I think so.
About 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, a lot of things have to go into that. Don't get me wrong. I would love to get it as soon as possible.
Right.
But I also want the most refined product that I can get.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm talking about drugs when I say it like that.
I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll just see what happens. But it's just sad that it's ending regardless. Yeah. All right, so that's all of our news, but I do have a few hot takes I want to go over really quickly. Okay. So, first one is I finished watching a little TV show called Gilmore Girls.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. That's very interesting.
So...
Man, it's such a struggle for me to finish one episode. Not because I think it's boring, it's just like... It feels so much longer than it is. Yeah. Because it's 40 minutes, but it feels like an hour.
So, man, I don't even know where to start.
Did you like it?
Yes, I did like it.
Okay, that's good.
So prior to embarking on this Gilmore Girls journey, I had heard from many people, both male and female, that this is a good series. It's enjoyable. It's not, it's the name it kind of implies that it's directed toward this female audience, and I suppose it is, but anybody can enjoy it. Yeah. And I definitely found myself enjoying it. Now,
I'm a Gilmore Girls fan.
Now, as with any show that goes on for a long time, I feel like it kind of outstayed its welcome towards the end. I really felt towards... Well, let me back up. So there's this fantastic podcast called Gilmore Guys where there's a guy who's been like a lifelong Gilmore Girls fan and a guy who's never seen it before. Wow. Okay. And they go episode by episode talking about each one.
That's a lot of episodes.
It is a lot.
That's a lot of stuff.
It is. Now, I've only had a chance to listen to the first 2 episodes, unfortunately, but I enjoyed them both a lot. But in the first episode, the guy who's always loved Gilmore Girls, he said that season 7 is generally regarded as disliked by the fans. But I found that towards season 5, the characters started taking a lot of directions that I really disagreed with, just making really dumb decisions. Yeah. Just a lot of drama just for the sake of drama that could have been easily avoided in real life just with simple communication. Just like,
I mean, you and I both know people don't communicate that well.
I know, but
it's easier said than done.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think I know which parts you're talking about, but
anyway, at the same time, I think that the fact that I got so worked up and upset by the characters' decisions just proves how emotionally invested I was in those characters. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I could talk for a long time. I could talk for a long time about this, but...
Did you ever think you would ever find yourself talking about this?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Probably not. Anyway, I won't talk about it too much because the Gilmore guys have done it already and better than I could because they can devote much more time than I can here. But anyway, so right after I finished watching the main series, I immediately started watching the Netflix special, A Year in the Life. And man, you don't realize how different people look after 10 years than when you see them 1 second and see them 10 years older, literally 2 minutes later. And it was bizarre.
I have to say, Lorelai has aged really well.
Really? I didn't think she did.
I think she's aged really well.
I didn't.
Tell me how you really feel.
I think that Lauren Graham is beautiful, or at least she was like in the early 2000s. But now, in 2017, like she's almost my mother's age. And
okay, so when you and I, if we're still alive 10 years later, we'll come back and see each other and say how much we've changed.
I'm sure we will.
First time we'll see like, damn, Alex, time has not been kind to you.
I'm sure it won't be. It's the last 2 years haven't been kind to me, but that's neither here
nor there. My gosh, okay, I was kidding around, please. Let's not go so depressing with this.
I'm just stating facts.
Like, I will recant my insult, I guess.
Okay, last thing that I want to say about Gilmore Girls is that I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the ending was very emotional for me, just because of... I guess I didn't really talk about the story of the show, but I won't because there's too much to go into. But anyway, so the daughter, Rory... okay, I guess I will spoil a little bit.
Oh, come on, man.
Okay, fine, I won't spoil it. Anyway, there's a big transition, the very last episode of the show, that, in certain ways reflected certain transitions that I'm about to undergo in my life. And I was like, oh boy, this is what I get to look forward to. And I don't know if I'm ready for it.
I'm sure you are.
And then A Year in the Life, I really didn't like. It just felt very unnecessary to me. I was fine with where it wrapped up. And it just seemed like a lot of fan service, a lot of, more of the same and not in a good way, if that makes any sense. And then it ended on this cliffhanger that was really stupid and made me mad. But anyway, that's Gilmore Girls. Despite all of the negative things I said about it, I didn't really say anything good that I liked about it. I still recommend it. So
that's nice.
Yeah. So last night I watched this movie on Netflix called Nightcrawler.
Oh.
So this movie is not about the X-Man, but rather about Jake Gyllenhaal, who gets up to all this weird stuff. Have you seen this movie?
I haven't, but I've heard good things about it.
Man, this movie was just, like, I kind of knew what it was about before going in. So Jake Gyllenhaal plays this character who is very...
Is it Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal?
Gyllenhaal. Did I say Gyllenhaal?
No, you said Gyllenhaal, but I've heard Gyllenhaal before.
Okay.
So I never know what to say.
Who is very... He has no morals. Like, he doesn't see any of his actions as right or wrong, good or bad. He just does what he thinks he needs to do. It's what's best for himself. So he gets into this job where he films car accidents, fires, crimes, basically stuff that he can sell to the local TV news. And he just gets up to some really weird, shady stuff. And it was just a bizarre movie. Like, it was really good, but I'll probably never watch it again.
Really?
Because it was just one of those movies where it was like, this was good.
One and done.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was trying to think of other examples, or like compare and contrast with other movies. Like Whiplash is a really intense movie, but I love it. I could watch that like once a week probably. Yeah. But this movie was also very intense. Very intense.
I'm sorry. You know I have to say it.
I don't know. Anyway, that was just, it was a weird movie. And then I also managed to carve out some time to watch the story of Injustice 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you finish it? Or?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay. What did you think?
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was one of my hot takes.
Well, no, I know. But then when you said that, you were asking, it made it sound like you hadn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Okay.
I did because you said carve up some time. I didn't know if you had enough time to finish it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I liked it overall, but personally, I liked the story of the first game better.
Okay.
The second game just felt so much more complicated, unnecessarily. It was like a Brainiac sandwich, because the beginning of the game starts out with evil Superman, and then we have the Brainiac conflict, and then we end with more evil Superman. And it was like, pick one story and go with it, kind of thing. Like, when we were watching the Shattered Alliances trailers and everything, for the 2 months where we talked about it every week, I was saying that, this looks like a typical Brainiac invasion plot, but I thought that the evil Superman subplot could add an interesting wrinkle to the story, and I didn't really think it did.
Really? I think it did.
It didn't do it for me.
I like that even though they defeated Brainiac, it wasn't clean cut like that. They went back to the issue at hand about how in this universe, Batman and Superman will not get along with each other.
Yeah.
Because they have such different beliefs that, I was going to say, neither could survive what the other could live, but it doesn't match up with this thing.
Uh-huh.
But one of them has to go down. Mm-hmm. And I liked how they addressed that.
Oh, with the double ending?
Yeah. With the double ending and like throughout the whole story.
Uh-huh.
And I liked how also they talked about whenever the League, quote unquote, the League was back together and participating with one another, that it was like old times, even though nothing could ever be the same again. Although, I talked about this when I was talking about my Injustice hot take, that there was one thing they did with one character which I absolutely will not forgive them for doing. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Just tell me which character it is.
Dr. Fate.
Oh, yeah.
I hated that so much. I don't understand why they even had to do that in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, I understand his place in the story, but how they finished his part of the story, I did not like that.
Yeah, no, he was definitely shoehorned in. I also felt Atrocitus was like super shoehorned into the story.
Like, I liked his part when he came, but you expected more from him. And that was it. Like, I thought it would have been cool if the Red Lanterns would have come to help, because they could have helped pour vengeance on Brainiac for all the lives he's taken. Yeah,
I don't know. It was, the first one was so good because, it was all not a straightforward story because of the whole parallel dimensions thing or universe or whatever. But I don't know. This one just like didn't do it for me. And again, like, it wasn't bad. Like, it was overall good. I just liked the first one better, I guess. What else to say? I thought it was weird that Damian was Robin and Nightwing.
Why? It made sense.
I mean, it does. I didn't expect it because I didn't even know that Nightwing was in the game. So I was like really surprised when he showed up and that it was Damian, not Dick.
In the first one or the second one?
In the second one.
Oh, the second one?
Yeah.
No. We said it was Damian.
I didn't remember seeing him in any of the trailers.
He didn't have his own trailer. He was just kind of like one of the opponents they were facing.
I guess I didn't notice then. Ooh, in the chapter with Black Canary and Green Arrow, so there are a few chapters where in each fight you get to pick which character you want to play as. So the guy that I was watching, who, side note, was terrible at the game. He was so bad.
Who did you watch?
I don't remember. It's some random guy. I can show you later. But he did half of his damage in all of the fights with like throws and super moves, just like spamming those over and over, and it got super annoying to watch. Like whenever he did attack, like almost all of his attack strings were the same, which was super boring to watch. He was very close to, he didn't lose any of the fights, but he was super close to losing a bunch of them, and he was playing on easy AI. So I was like rooting for him to lose most of the time, which probably didn't help my enjoyment of the story.
Gosh.
But anyway.
Salty.
So in the chapter with Black Canary and Green Arrow, she plays against, or he chose Black Canary to fight against Gorilla Grodd, and he makes this. He says something to the effect of the world will kneel before me, and then Black Canary retorts. She says, "Kneel before Grodd." That doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
and I loved that line so much.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I have to admit, because with some of the characters, you get personalized quotes.
Yeah,
and I thought, that was really clever.
Yeah, there's I was watching some of the like intro quotes, and or maybe it was like a Clash quote, where somebody says to Black Adam is like, "Have you met the other Lightning guy?" And he goes, "The guy in the straw hat, yeah, I have met him."
Oh, really?
I was like, oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Like, that was just nuts that they would throw that reference in there. That's a Mortal Kombat reference for those who don't know. Did you get a chance to watch the character endings?
Yeah.
Okay. I watched those too. Again, like I enjoyed the first games more, and I actually went back and watched the character endings from the first game. So in the first game, they have this British lady do the voiceover for all of them, and I really liked her because she was so calm and detached from everything, just stating matter-of-factly what happened after the regime fell. And in the second one, all of the character endings are voiced by each of the individual characters, which makes sense. Like, they paid for actors to be there. They may as well have them, record those lines. But I don't know. I guess I just like the first game more.
Because I mean, I like both of them. So
like some of the individual endings were cool. Like I thought the Joker's ending was really great, even though it didn't explain how he showed up in that dimension or universe.
Yeah.
I thought Atrocitus's was really interesting.
Yeah, I really liked Atrocitus's.
And there was one, Brainiac's was really good.
His was at first I was like, that's just stupid. But then I thought more about I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And there was one other one that I really liked, but I don't know what it was. But I don't know. I wish I could play this game for myself. Like I'm really upset that it didn't come out on Switch. Okay, and then I have one last hot take. I watched this documentary that came out a few years ago about the 25th anniversary of Street Fighter. It was just interviews with top level players, some of the designers. They also got some of the lead designers on Tekken and Virtua Fighter because obviously they take a lot of inspiration from Street Fighter. They had a guy who has a massive Street Fighter collection, just a bunch of people like that, and it was really interesting. I'm not the biggest Street Fighter fan, but I enjoyed it. It was like an hour and 15 minutes long, so not a huge time investment or anything. But yeah, it was a nice watch. There was a good production value. Like clearly, it was a passion project for whoever made it. I think it was actually from Capcom. They put a lot of work into it because everybody loves Street Fighter. But anyway, that's all for me. Do you have anything for us?
Yeah, actually, I've been finally rewatching some episodes of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I forgot how much I've missed some of the early seasons.
Are you just like jumping around?
Jumping around, because I just haven't had time to sit down and watch the season. So I thought, because my schedule's been so crazy this week, I thought, you know what? New season's almost here. I haven't been able to stick to my plan and rewatch the seasons, so I might as well jump around a little bit. So I've been jumping around mostly in season 1, and man, seeing... You remember how we were talking about with seeing the 10-year difference? Obviously, it's not as big a time span here, but it's still like you can see where the story and the changes and how time has played a factor. It's just,
I think for me, probably Bran is the biggest one, just because he was so young. When
definitely.
The show started.
But in some way, I kind of miss the earlier seasons. Not because I hate how the new seasons have gone. I miss that early. I can't say early because I started very late. But you know, like there's like, I don't know. It's like almost reminiscing on old memories about how people have changed and how things were kind of like not very, but a little bit simpler back in those times. I mean, people were alive that aren't alive now.
Yeah, I mean, they just add so many more characters. Like,
yeah, which I mean,
in the books, the first one, A Game of Thrones, I think focuses on like 5 or 6 characters, and by like book 4, I think it's like 10 or 12 or maybe more than that.
But yeah, I mean, going back and rewatching has really made me. I've always been very appreciative and very big of a fan of Game of Thrones, even though like I said, I came on late, but I caught on quickly and I became a very, very loyal fan. Not just somebody who just watches the show. I'm like, yeah, I like Game of Thrones. No, I really, really like Game of Thrones. But rewatching their like past seasons have just it's made me miss people. It's made me miss how things kind of used to be. But it's also made me really, really excited for where it's gonna go. And you know, there's some little details which I picked up which I didn't see beforehand, which I thought was really, really cool. Like some homages to other culture stuff or Easter eggs to leading up to foreshadowing events, which I thought was really cool too. Also some loopholes in the story, but that's also another thing. But yeah, that's really about the only thing that happened. I've been super busy, so I haven't had a chance to kind of do anything else besides rewatch old episodes of The Office. I've been rewatching a lot of old stuff. Yeah. So The Office, man, I miss that show. I'm not ready to, even though I've already seen the last season, I'm not ready to rewatch the last season yet. So I'm just kind of hopping around, just picking and choosing what I want to see. So when I finally get some time to sit down and watch something on my list, it's gonna be pretty epic. I'm gonna have a lot to say.
Good. All right. Anyway, so now we've got a new top 5 for you, and this was actually Brandon's idea. Yeah. So Brandon, why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about?
So we were just kind of throwing back and forth ideas about, we could do this for top 5, this for top 5. And I thought, you know what would be really cool to talk about? Our top 5 favorite alien races in pop culture. And this was actually a lot harder to decide down to than I actually anticipated, because aliens are a big part of entertainment for us. We love anything that deals with extraterrestrials and sci-fi, as you can tell. But when it comes down to picking and choosing our favorite ones, it was very, very tough. And I'll be honest, the 5 I have on my list right now, I'm not entirely sure they are my top 5. But you know what? Let's go into it, talk about it, see if we have any similarities. Okay. Go from there.
All right. So one caveat before we get started.
Yes, I was actually the one who told Alex about this.
So we decided to exclude the xenomorphs because I think it should be pretty evident that we both really, really love the Alien franchise.
And we dedicated a whole ABC of Geekdom to them. We dedicated a movie to them. I dedicated a hot take to them. So I love you, Xenomorph, but you kind of sit this one out.
Okay, so I guess, do you want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. So first one that I have is the Saiyans.
The Saiyans? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one. Yeah. Sometimes I forget that they're aliens.
I know. Yeah. I was thinking about it today, and it's so weird because, Dragon Ball was a thing, for however many, there's hundreds of episodes of anime and however many chapters of the manga, and it's all straight up fantasy. There's a dragon and wishes and a talking pig and, fights with this demon king or whatever. It's all fantasy. And then Dragon Ball Z comes around, and within the first 2 or 3 episodes, we find out that 2 of the main characters are actually from outer space, and they've always been from outer space. And they have these crazy outer space powers, and they can shoot energy beams. And it totally changed up the whole makeup of the Dragon Ball Z universe. And now that's what everyone thinks of is, the Saiyans and the Pods and the Frieza and all of that stuff. Yeah, so it just went from being a like fantasy anime to like a sci-fi anime, which is really interesting. But anyway, the Saiyans, we've talked about them quite a bit, especially recently. They are a warrior race. They're driven to be the best at combat no matter what. They have the power to fly, to power up their power levels. Under the exposure of the full moon, they turn into the Great Mighty Uzuru, which is a giant ape that can shoot giant laser blasts out of its mouth. There's obviously Super Saiyan and all of the various forms that takes on. There's also the legendary Super Saiyan, which I won't even go into because that's a whole other can of worms. The Zenkai power, which is when if they are mortally wounded and they recover, their power level increases exponentially. And the Saiyans are just really, really cool. Yeah. Really overpowered, but really cool.
So, my first pick are the aliens from Independence Day.
Okay.
Now, there's no real name for them. I was double checking for them. And I think they're called, what I've seen is they're called harvesters, as far as I know. But I haven't seen the second one. I'm just talking about the first one.
Right.
So, these aliens are compared to locusts. They travel from world to world, taking natural resources from the planets, killing the inhabitants, using the resources, and then moving on to the next planet. And, I don't know if this movie, let's just say the first one, right, was made now. I feel like a lot of people would kind of crap on that whole concept and be like, oh, there's really no, like, three-dimensional value to the aliens. They're just cannon fodder. There's things you gotta blow up. And it's true. That's true. They're the bad guys. It's very clear cut. They're the bad guys, and you gotta fight them. And I think that's why I really like them. Like, the movie doesn't have to get too complex about, whose side are you on. It's these a-holes have come to our planet. They're gonna kill us off. They blew up a bunch of our monuments just to send a message. So that already makes for a pretty good bad guy, and I liked it. And also their design, I really liked their design. As a kid, when I first saw the movie, I was very creeped out about it because, okay, I'm gonna let you in on something. I've always been very uncomfortable around calamari. Tentacles and octopi and squids just make me feel really, and cuttlefish too. They make me very uncomfortable for some reason. I don't know whether it's the shape, the eyes, the tentacles, or whatever. It's just, quick tangent.
I love calamari.
It tastes awesome. Don't get me wrong. It tastes awesome. But like if I was ever to like come into contact with one, I would be really very, very uncomfortable.
Okay.
No, I have no problem eating it.
The first time I ever got sushi, one of the pieces of nigiri that I ordered was octopus, because it's in Japanese it's taco, T-A-K-O.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that would be funny. I can see like, oh, I went to a sushi restaurant and I got tacos. Yeah. But it was, so it came out and like there was a little rice patty, whatever you want to call it. And then there was like a little piece of tentacle on there. It was very chewy. But I haven't gotten it since then. But yeah.
Did you ever see, McDonald's were selling them back when I was a kid. About movies where Ronald McDonald, he became animated.
Yeah.
So the one where they go to Grimace Island.
Okay.
And then they get attacked by a kraken. Freaking, when I saw that, I was like, no, absolutely not. I saw also, you know what else also freaks me out? It's the beak. The beak just totally messes with my mind. I don't know what it is about that damned beak.
Well, no, it's because like this thing lives underwater, should not have a beak.
Yeah, it's just, oh my god, like, oh no. Anyways, one last tangent. So it's an old custom in Korea where you eat live octopus.
Oh yeah.
And I think I don't know if I told you about this or not.
I've seen it before.
And so you can either eat a tentacle, and the tentacle's still moving, or you can get a little octopus, wrap it around some chopsticks, and you eat it right off the chopstick. And it's supposed to be like an ancient form of like showing strength and power. Like if you can down a living octopus, you're pretty cool in our books. But people have died from this practice. And I'm like, part of me kind of wants to do it, but part of me is like, do I really need to prove myself to these people? I know if I ever go, I'm going to do it.
Please take a Snapchat video.
Oh, man. I'd be like, Alex, this is the last time you see me, man. Anyways, back to the... Oh, man. Now I'm just going to be thinking about eating these aliens. So, the design of the aliens always freaked me out. But I also thought it was really cool because they're about 9 feet tall. They have a very elongated head. They have tentacles on their backs and everything. And I realized that form is not their true form. It's a biomechanical suit that they wear. And when you open it up, the actual alien is inside. And I don't know, I just really, really love that whole concept and idea. I just thought that was so, so cool. And just the whole... Again, I haven't seen the second one, so I'm only going off the facts in it for the first one. Just everything that you know about them, it's a mystery, and I like that. They're just here, they want to take over our planet. They don't want to rule us, they don't want to enslave us, they just want our planet. They could give two craps about us. And I don't know, just... It's like the old, like, invasion stories. Because nowadays, it's kind of hard to do an invasion story because so many of them have been done, so you have to find new ways to freshen it up. But it's one of the original invasion stories of, you know, the 90s. And I'll always love that and cherish it.
Yeah.
And plus, they have the really cool spaceships, too.
All right, my second one also does not have an official species name.
Okay.
So this is Diamond Head from Ben 10 in the Omnitrix, which I was looking up all the Ben 10 aliens, or at least from the original series, and like almost all of them, with a few exceptions, have like official species names, but not this one for some reason.
I think it does.
It didn't on Wikipedia when I looked at it.
Wikipedia or the
Wikipedia?
Ben 10? Okay, on the Ben 10 wiki it does.
What does it say?
A Petrosapien.
Okay, I'll buy it. So, Diamond Head, or a Petrosapien, is a crystalline humanoid being. It is bipedal, and it's very multifaceted and angular, and powers include a limited amount of body shapeshifting, so he can like transform his arms into blades, for example, or a shield when necessary. He can shoot out like shards of gems from his hands and like create walls to like shield himself and others and that kind of thing.
He can punch his hands in the ground and create structures.
Yeah. Now I don't know too much about their culture. In one episode, they encounter another Petrosapien who comes from their home planet to find Ben because he finds out that he has the Omnitrix and he's trying to help him or something. But I don't really know anything about their culture, but I always imagined that they were like a warrior protector type of race, like a noble kind of... I don't even know. I can't compare them to anything. I don't know. Diamond Head was one of my favorites.
He was mine too.
Not because of like his powers are cool, but they're not like super overpowered. I just thought his design was very cool. And his powers were very versatile. Like they could be used for offense and defense, depending on what the situation called for.
And plus he just looked really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, the Petrosapien.
That's a good, really good choice. I like it. So my second one are the prawns from District 9.
Okay.
We're back to this again. Man, that seemed like a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
And I really like them, partly because, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but I had to talk about design because I just love design. Design-wise, I just love how they look. They are very interesting in concept. They're basically prawns or roaches. It's like a mix between a roach and a prawn.
They're very insectoid.
Yeah, and they're very tall. They're very strong. And then what I really liked is that the way that they were portrayed is, first of all, they portray them in almost entirely bright settings. So it just added to the mockumentary feel to the movie. And it just made these aliens seem that much more real. Also, just because I just like, again, the mystery behind the prawns. You don't know too much about them. You just know that one day they came in this giant ship. There are millions of them. They're refugees. We don't know where they came from. what happened to them, why they had to leave their planet, and just the whole mystery aspect I just really like. And also like the fact that, that they aren't terrible people, really. Like, some of them have ill feelings towards humanity, but for the most part, they're pretty harmless. They don't want to conquer us. They don't want to do anything to us. They just want to live here. And I don't know, just that pang of sympathy that you get when you watch the movie. It just made me really appreciate the prawns. And then, of course, the character Christopher and his little son. I mean, they just added to the charm of the aliens. Yeah. And plus, they have really cool technology too. And I also like the fact that you have to be of prawn DNA, or you have to have their genetics to be able to use the technology, which you could say is a cop out. I say it makes for a very good plot element. So the prawns, I love them. Even after all these years, I still love those guys.
Okay, so my third pick is the Yautja, which is...
They were almost on my list.
Okay. So this is more commonly referred to as the Predators. Now, again, like, probably could have said we should exclude these, but...
I feel like we didn't talk to them to the degree we talked to Xenomorph. So I think this is a pretty good exception.
So the Predators, I mean, just from a physical standpoint, they are at peak athletic ability, which is because they hunt everything nonstop. They have the whole... The mandible jaws and the vision thing. They're tall and they're super strong and they've got claws and they wear fishnets on their legs for some reason.
When you put it like that, that's weird, man.
I can never look at it and think of anything else. They just look like
it makes it sound like they're into some kinky stuff. But I mean, technically they are.
But, I mean, beyond that, so there's their technology, which is really cool. They have their masks, which gives them more range of vision, which helps them to seek out their prey. They have their wrist communicator, which they use for all sorts of things, to communicate with their ship, to activate bombs, to their, voice modulator or whatever. Then they have their weaponry. They have their shoulder-mounted laser cannon, whatever. They have their spears and their disc blade things or whatever. But one thing that I don't know if we touched upon enough in previous times we talked about it is just their culture. And we don't get too much of it, but we get enough to get a sense that they are a very noble race. They care about... Obviously, the thing that they care about the most is sport, hunting, which is really cool. It's a really fascinating... character trait for them, but they also care about the integrity of the hunt. They don't hunt women, they don't hurt children, they don't hunt the sick, because there's no honor in that kill. And I just think that's really, really cool. It's a little detail that we get with zero dialogue ever coming from the Predators, and it's 100% clear that they are honorable creatures. And we get some more at the end of Alien vs. Predator, that they care for their own, the one Predator who dies fighting the Queen, he's given a warrior's funeral because he died in battle, and that's the most honorable way for them to die. One thing that I would really love to learn more about the Predators is, what it's like on their home world. Are the Predators that we see like the hunters, and are on their home worlds, are there craftsmen and farmers and government leaders, or does every member of the Yautja hunt and go off planet to find more things to kill? Or how does their sight work?
I feel like they do, because let's just say we're still talking about Alien vs. Predator, right? That whenever they show civilization to humanity, they must have brought some element of that to here. Because I would assume that humanity mimicked civilization from the Yautjas. I'm only assuming, though. Because, they knew how to build elaborate buildings. They knew how to do... I just think that when they show civilization, you kind of bring that along. So I'm only assuming, though. But, in ancient Sparta, they had that, too. Granted, they weren't the most cultured race, but they still had a culture. So my next one, I really like them, are I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Rigelians from The Simpsons, which they are the species of K and Kodos.
Oh, they have names?
Yeah. The two aliens that always watch The Simpsons. Yeah. So they hail from Rigel 7. And this is going to be hard.
How far away is that from Omicron Persei 8?
Oh my goodness. Probably have to go through another dimension. Apparently it's a ringed planet. No, the planet is near a ringed planet close to Earth. So we can assume it's in our solar system. So Rigelians are about 7 feet tall. They continuously drool out of their mouths. They have one eye, 8 tentacles, red pupils, and they wear these giant clear space helmets all the time. And Rigelians speak Rigelian, which coincidentally is English, pretty much. I don't know why. And I mean, I'm sure there are other details that their Wikipedia page doesn't talk about, but whatever. Because I feel like they kind of just like go along whenever the Rigelians come or whenever Kang and Kodos are on screen. Now, the reason I like him is that one, first of all, it's The Simpsons, and whenever The Simpsons make a creation, it's always funny. And I like that Kang and Kodos have become such regulars of the show that they always find a way to kind of bring them in whenever they can.
I don't know. I feel like I only ever see them on the Treehouse of Terror.
They are most notably on that.
Yeah.
But there have been episodes when, I think in one episode when they were roasting Homer, not like roasting, but like it's like when you have a roast for somebody, they were roasting him, and then Kang and Kodos come and they say, "Yeah, we got tired of this. Humanity sucks." Blah 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 blah.
Because I was just about to ask, like, I don't remember them ever actually like interacting with the
Simpsons. They've interacted multiple times, like you said, mostly in the Treehouse of Horrors, but the Simpsons know that Kang and Kodos exist. It's not a secret. There was two of my favorite ones. One of them was when they first meet them. So they abduct the Simpsons. They were having like a barbecue outside. They meet them and they're like, "Oh, hello humans, whatever. We're gonna take you to Rigel 7 and everything." And they keep feeding the Simpsons all these great meals. Lisa gets suspicious as to why, and she thinks that they're gonna eat them. The second one is when Kang and Kodos come at the time of an election. This is when Bill Clinton was running against I forget who. So Kang and Kodos they impersonate Bill Clinton and the other politician. And so that when one of them gets elected, they'll bring upon the other Rigelians to invade Earth. And Homer is aware of this. But nobody's going to believe the story until he eventually intervenes and he unmasks the two. And people still vote for like the city of Springfield still votes. And long story short, I mean, it's not really a spoiler because the humor is the jokes.
Right.
Earth gets enslaved. But I just love them because they're just so weird and out there, and I just love that they continuously kept getting brought onto the show because it's so funny.
Okay, my fourth pick.
I'm surprised we have no overlap.
Yeah, well, we've still got 2 more picks. So my fourth pick is the Clintar, which are more commonly referred to as the Venom symbiote.
Ooh, okay. Very nice.
So this is a really interesting one. You could almost not even call it a race because they don't really have a culture or anything, but I already said it, so we're going to go with it. So the symbiote is a organism that has no body of its own. And I guess it has a consciousness, but no real... It can't communicate with anybody. But what it does is it infects its host, or not infect, it bonds with its host, as, a symbiote does, if you know anything about science. Bonds with its host, and it grants the host powers. So, like super speed, super strength, healing factor, your typical, go-to superpowers. And if the host also has superpowers of their own, it enhances those powers. We first see the Clintar with Spider-Man, and we see him be able to punch harder and swing faster instead of relying on his web shooters with the serum or whatever that he made. the suit can make it for him so that he doesn't have to keep refilling his cartridges or whatever. So that type of thing. And they're I don't really know if they have a goal. Like, it doesn't seem like, because it doesn't really reproduce. It just kind of finds a host and just kind of lives its life. And it affects the host's mind to a certain degree. But it doesn't really, tell it to help it achieve some kind of goal. It just makes the host's thoughts darker. Like, if amplifies certain character traits, like when Eddie Brock becomes Venom, he has a tendency towards violence and he becomes more violent, and that's why he becomes a supervillain. So I don't know, just that kind of I just think it's really cool because it's so malleable. Like, it can be used in so many different situations to do all kinds of things.
My next pick are, now I'm going to let Alex kind of figure this one out. Martians.
Okay.
Now, can you guess which Martians I'm talking about?
I know how much you love the Martian Manhunter, so I'm guessing you're talking about the Green Martians from the DC universe.
Oh, almost, no.
Is it the White Martians? Is it the Yellow Martians, which I found out are a thing today?
Nope.
Is it the Martians from the Looney Tunes?
Almost. Man, this one's a hard one. No, the Martians from War of the Worlds.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten there.
Yeah, no. I really wanted to do Marvin the Martian so bad. And also Martian Manhunter because they're awesome. But, I don't know. Whenever we do these lists, I love to pick the unexpected ones. So I went with the Martians from the War of the Worlds, which, you guys might know them as the tripods. So they first made an appearance in 1898 in a novel by H.G. Wells. And since then, they've been very much like one of the archetypes of science fiction, especially in the very, very early days of science fiction. Most notably, you know the Martians when they're inside their tripod vehicles, which are humongous behemoths of, I don't even know what to call them. So basically, it's kind of like a pod that they operate the tripod in, and hence the name. They're on 3 legs.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm trying to see when Tom Cruise's one was made.
2006.
So close, 2005. Good job, though. So, most recently, the story was adapted in the 2005, I guess, remake, reboot, adaptation?
Yeah,
Adaptation, starring Tom Cruise. He's always involved in these things.
Have you seen this movie?
I have, actually. Okay. I really like it.
I have, too. It's been a long time.
Yeah. And so this is my first real experience with seeing the tripods and the Martians inside. So when you see the Martians, they look kind of similar actually to the Harvesters from Independence Day. They have like a big elongated head. They have bulbous eyes. They have a mouth, which is different. And they have the really elongated limbs and everything. So
I have no memory of this.
So I don't know why. Of course I remembered this stuff. They come to Earth, kind of similar to why the Harvesters came, to kind of explore, take our resources and everything, and to kill us off. They gather around humans, and I remember this from the movie, and also apparently this is what they did in the books too. They would drain us of blood, so they could use the blood for whatever reason. I don't even know why they needed our blood. I just know they were draining our blood. And like I said, they're just huge, iconic figures within the realm of science fiction, just because of the impact that they had in the early days of when science fiction was really getting started. And they're also very terrifying because, as far as I know, in the novel and as well as in the movies, there's no dialogue between humanity and the aliens. All the aliens do is they come, they attack us.
They come, they eat, they leave.
Pretty much. At least in the ones in Independence Day, they talk to us a little bit.
Yeah.
This one, they just come and there's no point in trying to negotiate or talk to them because they aren't going to stop.
Right.
And our technology does nothing against them because we can't pierce their we can't get through to the armor. There is a way to do it from the inside out, but you would have to get inside the vehicle to do it.
Like The Incredibles.
Yeah, yeah. Good one. And for me, that just makes it so much more frightening because it's like they have no morals about it. Or maybe they do, they just see us as insects, so they don't think they're doing anything wrong. I do like in the story that how they're defeated, it's not through like a lucky chance or humans kind of coming together or whatnot. They die because they get sick from our planet. Like same way that you would go.
Oh, that's right. Same
way that you would go to like the early days when the Europeans came to America and they got sick from whatever, or they made the natives sick. Same way, I don't think they ever specified, but something on our planet got them sick, and that's why the invasion failed, because they just couldn't sustain themselves on this planet. Which I thought, at first I was like, that's a stupid ending, but then I thought that's actually a really interesting ending. It's not my favorite ending, but it's an interesting way to go about it. And plus, like I said, they're very iconic. How can you go wrong with them?
Yeah.
Also, the fact that they can vaporize people on an instant. So creepy, but I love it so much.
Okay. So, this is the last one already?
Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, my last pick, and I really struggled with this one, but I'm happy with my choice, is the Nibelonians.
Oh my god.
So
I definitely approve of this one. This one is a good one.
So the Nibelonians, I don't know if their planet has a name, but they are these very tiny. They're like 9 inches tall, maybe.
About that. Maybe a foot.
Yeah. Creatures. They're very cute and cuddly. They are kind of cat-like in appearance. And they have an eye sticking out of the top of their head. So they consume everything. Like one of the running jokes of Futurama is that Nibbler will just like swallow gigantic creatures that are like 100 times his size in a single bite. And it's just like really crazy. And they also excrete pure dark matter, which they use to fuel their ships in that universe.
I still like the episode when we're first introduced to Nibbler, and they have no more fuel.
Oh yeah,
the planet's about to be destroyed, so they have to get Nibbler to poop. That was like the only way they could save that episode. It was like they have to poop.
Yeah. So we first get introduced to Nibbler as this. He becomes Leela's pet. But I forget when it first happens. It was when the brains first invaded, I think it was.
Maybe.
Anyway, so we find out that Nibbler is actually an intelligent species and has a ship that he can use to travel back to his home planet. And he meets with the Council of Nibelonians, who all look just like him. And they are kind of like protectors of the universe. They're an ancient race. They're all knowing almost, and they look out for the best interests of the galaxy or universe or whatever. They do that, and so that's all well and good and everything. What I really love about Nibbler and the Nibelonians is how much they factor into the story of Futurama. And a lot of it is in like behind the scenes ways that we find out about later, like how Fry comes to the 31st century is all Nibbler. And just like all these really crazy things. And yeah, I just really love the Nibelonians.
Isn't Nibbler's name, like his actual name, too complicated for humans to say?
Yeah, he says something that... Like, so Fry meets the Nibelonians and they refer to Nibbler as Sergeant or Captain Nibbler or whatever. And Fry goes, wow, it's so crazy that your name is Nibbler and we have always been calling you Nibbler. And he says, no, my true name is like, to pronounce the first letter of my true name would take longer than your lifetime or something like that. And it's just like, what? I don't know.
I also like how they're all powerful. But in the episode when it was Bender's Big Score, when those...
The movie.
Oh my gosh. What were those like squishy aliens called?
I don't know what they're called, but I know what you're talking
about. But like when they attacked, like they try to fight them, but they get defeated so easily. I was like, what? Like you had all this big talk. Then you get defeated in the span of 2 minutes. So I was just like... You also remember when Mother kidnaps a bunch of them and just like makes them eat some poops and eat some poops? So weird.
You mean Mom?
Yeah. It's been a while since I watched it.
Yeah.
So my final one, I had to go with an alien race from Halo. And I almost did the Elites. But I know I talked about them for a long time. And I couldn't do the Covenant because that's a whole bunch of races. And I don't want to be a cheapskate with that. So I decided to go on an alien race I haven't talked about on the podcasts from Halo. And they are the Forerunners. And actually, no, I take it back. No, I have talked about them for a little bit. Crap, I'm a liar. Anyways, so the Forerunners are one of the driving forces behind the Halo games. They were a race of aliens that I want to say they existed 10,000 years before us, or maybe longer than that. Either way, they were an extremely, extremely advanced race. They could, for the way we see, like, or we imagine faster than light travel, that's like normal travel to them.
That's scary.
Yeah. Like, age had almost no real factor. I mean, I think you could still die from old age, but it had no real meaning to them. Like when there's a certain Forerunner that comes into significance in this fourth Halo game. By that point, he's lived at least a good 10,000 years. I don't know. They were in the original 3 games. They were talking about these really, really almost awe-inspiring conversations because nobody really knew anything about the Forerunners except the technology they left behind and the fact that the Halos belonged to them. Besides that, nothing was really, really known about them. And by the time Halo 4 comes out, they give you a chance to explore more about the Forerunners and more about them. So the one that is really, really important, there are 2 of them, but the one of them that you come to meet, he actually is an antagonist. His name is the Didact. And it was kind of strange at first because we're introduced to the Forerunners as being this very noble race. And kind of like how you were talking about with Nibbler, how they kind of overwatch the galaxy and everything. That's what the Forerunners are. So they have this belief that is held onto by the entire race called the Mantle of Responsibility. And when you follow that mantle, it's the same way like we would follow religion, although for them it's more like philosophy religion, kind of like Buddhism. What goes into the Mantle of Responsibility is that they are the caretakers of the galaxy, that they will go around and overwatch and see all of life. They will index and chronicle everything they can, stop conflict if they can, make sure that the universe is at peace and has order in it. And it sounds like a very great thing, but for many of the Forerunners, it became almost too power hungry. Like they held on to this mantle for so long that they came to view themselves as higher than others. Mm-hmm. And there was a result when the ancient force comes to fight them, they weren't prepared for it. And so as a result, they end up having to activate the Halos and killing themselves. And I just like that even though we get to know more about the Forerunners, there's still so much we don't know. And I also like the fact that we were actually their rivals, technologically speaking. So way back then, humanity was almost at the level that Forerunners are. But because we got into a war with them, they actually were able to, how do I put this into words? Turn back the clock on our evolution. So that's why we became cavemen. So I was like, y'all are dicks. But it was a really, really interesting way to go about it. So Forerunners, I don't know, like, I just love the lore that goes behind them. It's just so cool to me.
So that's our top 5 favorite alien races, but I have some. Actually, I have a bunch of honorable mentions that I'll try to get through really quickly. So the first one I have here is the Kree.
Oh, nice.
Now, I don't have a real affinity for the Kree. Like, they're fine. They do their thing. What I really like about the Kree is that they're the ancestors of the Inhumans. And the Inhumans are pretty rad. So, go Kree. The Skrulls. Already mentioned the Skrulls. The Skrulls are freaking awesome. Especially Super Skrull. But, yeah. So this next one. This one almost made it on my list, but I thought it was a little bit of a cheat. It's Deoxys, the Pokemon.
Okay.
He's from outer space.
Yeah,
he lands on Earth.
Counts.
But I decided not to do it. But Deoxys is really cool. One of my favorite legendary Pokemon for sure. He has the ability to change forms depending on what the battle calls for. So there's a normal form, which is bad. Nobody uses it. There's the attack form, which is super fast and super powerful, but has like no defense. Then there's the speed form, which is super fast and has decent defenses and offenses. And then the defense form, which is super bulky but has not very good speed or attack. So Deoxys is super cool. The Tamaranians.
Ooh, nice.
Those are really cool. They're energy projectiles, super strength flight. And one of the coolest, weirdest things in like any comic book thing really is that they can learn the language of any species through lip contact.
So kissing.
Yeah.
Which I thought that's okay.
It's just like such a like clever like writing thing.
Yeah.
Like who would think of that?
I don't know, but I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. And then we have the Green Martians.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
And then on that same note, there's the Little Green Men from the Toy Story universe or Buzz Lightyear, Star Command.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Me too.
They're awesome.
Hilarious.
The Thanagarians, they're pretty rad. Yeah. The Owens of the planet Oa. Also more commonly referred to as the Guardians of the Universe, who created the Green Lantern power battery and all that good stuff. Love using Green Lantern. So the Xandarians, which also formed the Nova Corps. So got to give them a shout out too. The Kryptonians.
Why do you hesitate with this one?
So I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before, is I have a love-hate relationship with Superman. The things that make Superman so great are also, I think, what make him such a boring character.
I feel like that you can make the same case with Goku, though.
Yeah, well, I have other issues with Goku, too. But he just has so much power, like literally unlimited power, and so few weaknesses that, like, yeah, you can put up roadblocks to stop him, but in the end, like, there's not much you can really do to stop Superman from winning, unless you're Batman.
True.
And it just makes him boring. Like, there's no challenge for him ever, really. And the only ways to stop him are magic and kryptonite. And so that just gets, overplayed all the time.
Or you get into his mind and you...
Yeah,
you create the...
Oh, and the Red Sun. I forgot about Red Sun.
That's it, yeah.
Which, that is one thing that I really like about Kryptonians, is the solar energy thing.
They're like plants.
Yeah. The Reach. The Reach are really cool.
Yeah. Kind of annoying, but they're cool.
Yeah. Then from Futurama, the Neutral People.
Yes.
I don't know if they're really like a separate species. Like, they look very humanoid, just like a lot paler, but
they're awesome. I love them.
Yeah.
I almost put down Kip's species.
Oh yeah,
because they're so weird.
They are really weird. The Funru. Anyway, Jawas. Jawas are adorable. Yep. So are Ewoks. Wookiees are really great. Yeah. I would love to have a Wookiee best friend. Flora colossi. This is the species name of Groot.
Okay.
And his people. I almost had him on my list too, but he got edged out by a couple other people. But Groot is really cool. Like, his powers are like really varied and neat. The Daleks.
Ah.
I don't think I've ever talked about it on the show, but I've watched a fair amount of Doctor Who.
I think you've mentioned it.
Maybe I have. The Daleks are really cool. They are somewhat one-dimensional, but I still like them. Like, I think they're also really overused. That's my biggest complaint. But I still think they're pretty interesting. Also from Doctor Who, there's this one race called the Sontarans. They're like a joke species. They're like all about like war and violence, but they're like pushovers in battle. Yeah. So this next one is definitely not a species, but Stitch is definitely an alien. You could say like Jumba, like his species, because he, made Stitch and all of the other experiments, which are also like really cool. Like, I don't think any of the experiments are lame.
Especially 625. Oh yeah, I love 625.
The Vulcans from Star Trek.
Okay,
I really like the Vulcans. The Omicronians are awesome. The Decapodians. I think that's supposed to be Heptapodians. No. I have that. Oh. The Decapodians are Zoidberg's people.
I almost put them on my list too.
I love Zoidberg. Like, I love Zoidberg, but like his species, like, they're okay.
But they die after having sex.
I know. The Thing I have on here, not from Marvel, like the movie The Thing. That's a really great movie, but in the end, like, they kind of do the same thing as the Skrulls. Yeah. So, still cool. The Heptapods from Arrival, I won't say anything about them because I don't want to spoil it, but you got to watch that movie.
From what?
Arrival?
Oh, I saw the movie.
What?
I think I told you though.
I don't remember.
Did I talk about it on this podcast?
I don't think so.
Well, yeah. Hot take. Insert. I saw Arrival. Amazing. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. Ending totally still messed up my mind. Yeah. Still not entirely sure what happened at the end. But that was a fantastic movie.
I'm really glad you liked
it. So good.
I couldn't imagine somebody watching it and being like, that movie was dumb.
Like, I love also like the way that they portrayed the aliens is very realistic about how people react to it as well.
For sure.
It creeped me out at first, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. Coneheads? Have you ever seen Coneheads?
No, but I know what they are.
Yeah. They're funny. Tangeans from Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, okay.
This is Buzz's teammate Mira. She's a Tangean, and they have the power to phase through stuff. So that's cool. Then from Metroid, there's the Metroids. The Metroids are fine. I don't really care about them too much, but the couple games that I have played aren't really focused on the Metroids all that much. So, but then there's the Zebians, who raised Samus and gave her power armor. So they're really cool. The Space Pirates, which are, if you've never seen a picture of them, they're like these. They're kind of like Zoidberg, but a lot more menacing. Like, obviously much leaner, but they're very skeletal and they have claws. They can shoot out these beams and they just look really cool.
They never have like a real name to them, do they?
Just the Space Pirates.
Yeah.
And then the last one, I don't have the species names because I thought of it while we were talking. But the aliens from Falling Skies, like all of the aliens. I'll come back with that as a correction for next week, but they're all really cool. So yeah, that's our list of favorite alien species.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, thank you for suggesting that topic. So I know that we had a prospective email, but I don't believe it came in time for our recording. Nope, did not. But that is okay because, as always happens, podcasts have been going on for a long time. But if you do want to send us an email to let us know your top 5 favorite aliens, top 5 other thing, give us suggestions for future top 5s or anything, you can let us know by sending us an email to abcpodcast92@gmail.com, and we would love to hear from you. But we're now going to wrap it up with a Fan Fic Fights, aka the Kevin segment. This one's either going to be really good or really dumb, and I don't think there's going to be in between. So there's a certain character that I've wanted to have in Fan Fic Fights for almost forever, but I could never find someone to match his power. So ultimately it had to be a group. So it's going to be Avatar Aang versus the Shaolin Warriors from Shaolin Showdown.
Can you do the Shaolin Warriors? Because I still haven't seen Avatar.
Now, there's one caveat to the Shaolin Warriors. I'm going to limit them to their signature Shengang Wu.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know what Kimiko's is.
It's like, I don't know what it's called. It's like the little fire star thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
But you got the other three.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I didn't have the other three.
So, your boy Aang is the Avatar.
Excuse me.
And the Avatar...
You mean Ong?
The Avatar is the master of all four elements. So, that is fire, water, air, and earth. And I know I said those out of order, but whatever. So, only the Avatar can bend all four elements. But when the world needed him most, he vanished.
Is that ever going to get, like, old with us?
What, the Fire Nation attack?
Yeah.
No.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how many times we do it. It just never gets old. I love that so much.
It is always funny. No, but seriously. So Aang is a member of the Air Nation. He's born into it, and whatever nation the Avatar is born into, they have a natural affinity towards that element. So that's the first element that he learns how to bend is air. And by the time the series starts, he is a very proficient airbender. Probably not a master per se, but definitely he's got the hang of it. As the series progresses, he learns to bend the other elements. So he starts with water. Katara teaches him the basics of water bending. Then he moves on to earth, which he learns from Toph, and finally he learns how to firebend from Prince Zuko. So all of the elements, have their strengths and weaknesses. They all have different forms and styles of movement, which is one of the beautiful things about Avatar, is that all of the combat styles are based off of real life martial art form techniques and movements. But anyway, so airbending is pretty self-explanatory. You can bend the air. Actually, out of all of them, airbending is probably the least self-explanatory. You can bend the air. You can create tornadoes. You can, giant gusts. You can propel yourself in the air to fly.
Don't forget the little scooter.
Yes, and the little scooter. Then firebending, you can generate fire from your fists and your feet. Firebenders can use that to achieve flight, but
what? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Not all firebenders, like you have to practice at it, but yeah, you can definitely do that.
Wow.
As we talked about many episodes ago, firebending is also the basis of lightning bending. Or sorry, not lightning bending, lightning generation. Then waterbending, waterbending, in my opinion, is the weakest element because you have to have water around you. Whereas, air, unless you're underwater, you're always going to be surrounded by air. Earth, as long as you're on the ground, you're always going to have earth. Right. Fire you can generate out of nothing, but with water, like there has to be something there for you to bend. But it is also really powerful because water is a destructive force in nature. You can also freeze the water, so it can be devastating in that way. And then there's earth bending, which is probably the most powerful. Well, no, firebending is probably the most powerful, but earthbending is one of my favorites because it's so.
Can you do it into the microphone?
No,
come on.
That sounds inappropriate, Brandon. But yeah, so those are the basics of the four elements. I didn't mention anything about like metal bending or blood bending, etc., etc., etc. So Aang is very young, but he is an extremely powerful bender. He masters all of the elements relatively quickly, does all that good stuff. So this is a 4-on-1 match, definitely not in his favor, but because he controls all four elements, he can, let's say Omi is shooting a jet of water at him. Well, you know what? He can bend the water away and hit it at Kimiko. And you know what? Water is super effective against fire. So he's got that going for him. Or he can, if Raimundo is using the Sword of the Storms to launch a tornado at him, well, guess what? He can redirect the tornado and send Clay flying up into the air. So he can essentially redirect any of their attacks that are coming at him.
Okay.
Finally, his trump card... Well, no. One other thing before I get to the trump card is that the four of them have to coordinate their attacks towards him. If they're getting in each other's way or they're not communicating where they're planning to attack, they could accidentally attack one of their teammates. And that's just not going to end well for them. Whereas Aang, he only has to worry about himself. So he can keep all of them at bay and attack them. And then finally, last but not least, his ace in the hole is the Avatar state, which is like the Super Saiyan form of the Avatar, where he has complete mastery over all of the elements. He's super powerful. It's almost an out of control state. Like he just responds to threats, but they're obviously threats to him, so he's going to wipe them out.
That's very fair. That's a very compelling argument. But I have to say that I think the Shaolin Warriors take this one. Partly because, I'll make that argument later. So let me just list off the people I have on my team. So I actually have 4 people on my team. So I have Omi, Kimiko, Clay, and Raimundo. Each one possessing skills and abilities to the 4 elements. So Omi is water, Clay is earth, Kimiko is fire, and Raimundo is air. Even though they can only control one aspect of an element, they are still extremely, extremely skilled, both in martial arts and in the, manipulation and control of their elements, as well as, I think there is in the whole, is that they're also very creative about the way they go about it. Now, if you ever have seen Shaolin Showdown, you see the episodes whenever they need to get out of a situation, whenever it's relied on anything from them using their elements or Shengon Wu or just their wits, they're always able to kind of find a way out of the situation. And I think that's going to play a big factor to this fight. Like I said, with their respective elements, they also have... Alex has given me the opportunity of giving each of them their respective Shengon Wu. So Omi has a Shengon Wu called the Orb of Toonami, which allows him to generate jets of water and to further increase his manipulation with water. Raimundo has the Sword of the Storm, which allows him to create great gusts of winds and storms, controlling the weather. Kimiko has... Oh my gosh. Give me 1 second, because her Shengon Wu, I always forget the last name. It was the star... I want to say Hanabi? Something like that.
That sounds right.
It allows her to project fire and energy. And then Clay... I found out Clay actually has 2 signature Shengon Wu, but I'll let him just have 1, just for the sake of the argument. So I'll give him with the third arm sash, which allows him to further increase his control of the earth. Just
out of curiosity, what's the other one?
Fist of Tebigong.
Okay.
That gives them a pretty good arsenal. So they have control over elements as well as the Shengon Wu, which increases their elemental powers. Now with Aang, I know that's not going to be entirely enough because, one, he's around their age, so I'm assuming we're doing the Last Airbender Aang.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's around their age, so he kind of has like that same mindset of thinking like them. So he's just as creative as they are. So they're on an even playing field. And like you said, very much so. He can use all 4 elements. So if one of them uses an attack on him, he can redirect the attack towards another one. But I think where they have Aang beaten is the fact that there are 4 of them. Now, it's not just the case in numbers that they have the advantage, but the fact that, going back to the creativity thing, they are able... I'm fairly certain that they're able to win this fight. Because, say that Omi uses water, right? And he raises earth to block it, right? That's still... I'm trying to see how to put this, because this is going to get very complicated very fast. you can use another element at the same time to help increase that. So say whenever he lifts up Earth, what if Kimiko unleashes fire at the same time and melts the rock? Not only doing that, the water and the fire creates a steam which fogs up the entire battlefield. And in doing so, it gives more advantage to the Shaolin warriors because they can keep operating and switching between elements to confuse Aang. And I think that would be enough it won't be enough to defeat him, but it would be enough to give a significant advantage over Aang. And it would be enough to the point where they're able to finally have an edge up upon him. And you're right, the Avatar state, if I just say it was 1-on-1 against them, no, they would not have a chance at all. But 2 things. 1, I know that if the chance is given, they're able to injure Aang while he's in the Avatar state. It produces disastrous results because it messes up with the Avatar cycle, and also whatever injury he gets inflicted on. Yeah. 2, they have the power of friendship on their side, and I've seen how it works. They're able to overcome the most desperate situations by the power of friendship, Alex. Now, you would have won if you had given Aang his friends, but you didn't. You thought he can do this all by himself. I'm just going to be a lone wolf and do this. No. The reason Team Shaolin wins is because they have each other. And together, they make one.
What about that time that Raimundo abandoned them?
Hey! Sins are forgiven. He becomes the leader. That's saying something.
Well, I don't agree with that, but maybe someone out there does, but we won't know unless they let us know. So please tell us what you thought about this fanfic fight by sending us an email. And again, the address is abcpodcast92@gmail.com. Also, we would really like to hear what you thought about The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings, which we will be talking all about next episode, hopefully with at least one or more special guests. Got to work that out. But that is the plan. There will be more Lord of the Rings discussion on this podcast next week. I never thought I would say that, but here I am.
Hopefully we don't have as many transitions or tangents during that talk.
But anyway, so watch the movie, let us know what you thought, and yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter at AtariAlex. In my bio, you can find Brandon's username. That's the easiest way to get a hold of him. While you're there, you can also find links to our YouTube and iTunes pages, and you can subscribe to both so that you never miss an episode. We'd also really appreciate it if you could leave us a comment or an iTunes review so that we can know how to improve the show. Because, let's face it, we don't really know what we're doing here. We want to make this the best listening experience possible, but we can only do that if you tell us how you think we can make it better. So please do that. But I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, well, thank you all very much for listening, and we will catch you all next week.
Bye.